What up, good people? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to Deconstructing Christianity. I am your host, Coach Renz. Welcome to the live. Welcome to the live. It's hot out here in Texas. We're doing 100 degrees. So we're going to see if we can last 2.5 hours in here. Because even with an air conditioning, multiple fans, this garage is hot. What up, Chuck McNarris? Over there on TikTok already here. So today's conversation is going to be 99% of the Bible never happened. From creation, we mainly focus on the Old Testament. We can get into the New Testament as well. But from creation, all the way through Adam and Eve, all the way down to the so-called kingdom of Solomon, all of that history, none of it can be proven. None can be proven. And so that's what the conversation is today. And hopefully we can get some people up here who think that the way that the world was created was in 6 days based on some deity, or that Adam and Eve were the first man and woman and everybody's a product of incest. That Noah's flood actually happened and everybody's still a product of more incest. That giants roam the earth. And that the Tower of Babel is where we get our languages from. So on and so forth. Abraham existed. Nope. That Joseph went to Egypt and then Moses took him out of Egypt in the Exodus. Joshua conquested all this land of Israel, and eventually you got King Saul and you get King David, who had this establishment of this first Israelite kingdom, and then bam, Solomon. And after that, breakup of the kingdom. Because actually Jewish history that we can see is during when there was a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom. There's never been a full, we don't see any history of a full Israelite kingdom. So that's what we're talking about today. From creation all the way down. And if you want to get into Jesus, we can get into Jesus. He ain't exist either. Jesus never existed. Nor did Paul. Mary, Joseph, none of them. We have no proof. And so if you're listening and you are a Christian and you think that you have proof of this, please hit the request button. Get on the request line. And mind you, your personal experience is not proof. I could care less about your personal experience. My personal experience could be that the spaghetti monster exists. Now, I just said 50 of them things, and Rupert saying, how did you come to that conclusion, and can you prove it? Depends on which one you talk about, my guy. Depends on which one. You're welcome, PJ Freddy. Now, I do want to thank everybody who supports the channel, everybody who's a member, who's a subscription holder, members of the fan club. Thank you guys for being members and so on and so forth. Everybody, if you do give a super chat on YouTube, I will read the super chat and maybe talk about it. Those who give stars and who give gifts, thank you guys very much. I always want to give my gratitude for people who support this channel in that way. And everybody who shares the videos. Oh, and by the way, Rupert, you asked me a question on Facebook. I can't remember what it was from one of the videos I made yesterday. I don't, you know, I don't do the keyboard warrior conversation. So if you want me to truly answer that question, then you might want to re-ask it here. How do you know the Bible isn't true? Do you have proof? Yeah. Where would you like to start, Callie? Where would you like to start? See, just those generalized questions. I need you to be more specific. You know, be more specific. The Exodus. We know that there has never been an Exodus. That there's no, that the timing of the way the Bible describes the Exodus, it never could have happened, nor did it happen. And that history proves otherwise. Thank you, Tony. Oh, like, oh, how did the creation that the creation didn't happen? Well, according to the Bible, when you go through and you look at the begatting and who begat who and how old they were when they did they begatting, then you're going to get to the fact that Adam's creation would have been around 4004 BCE. 4004 BCE. And since Adam was created, and if you're looking at the Adam creation story, then Adam was created at around the time frame that the earth was created. So the earth is more than 4004 BCE, 4004 years old. But even if we didn't even look at the earth, we just looked at man himself. Homo sapiens have been around longer than 6,000 years. So Adam could not have been the first man, nor could he have been the first Homo sapien. If you want to try to say that, oh, well, there was Homo erectus, Homo habilis, and all that, and God created them first, but Adam was the first Homo sapien. You can't even make that claim because Homo sapiens have been around long before the creation of Adam. So it just doesn't work. The creation story is just that. It's a story. Antizel, am I saying that right? Antizel.
How you doing, brother?
Pretty good. Are you over 21?
Yeah.
All right. Are you a believer in the Bible?
Yeah, I wanted to say something for what you just said when you was talking about how far back people go, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the Bible, it never says that Adam and Eve was the first humans on the earth, and it even shows you that they're not, because when Cain unalive Abel, God said he was going to put a mark on his head and send him away. And when he was leaving, or when he was being sent away, he said, but the people, he said, the people in that city, when they see me, they shall surely unalive me, right? So who's those people? Because it gave the lineage of Adam and Eve all the way. That's why the Bible lets you know that God was not creating the first man and woman when he created Adam and Eve. He was creating the first of a bloodline. Of the first of a people. Right. So when you say that people do go farther back to Adam and Eve, you're right. But the Bible tells us that already.
Okay. So there's a couple of problems with I've heard that argument before. Sounds like a sound argument, right? But there is a problem when you come to the realization that Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 are two different creation stories. And so they cannot necessarily be merged together. So the actual part of Genesis 2 starts out in the second creation story that involves Adam and Eve starts in the middle of Genesis 2 verse 4. And this is where you cannot utilize the logic that you just used, which would be sound and otherwise. Because in there, it says that, and in the middle of it says, in the day that the Lord God had made the earth and the heavens, in the day that he made it in one day, according to Genesis 2. When no plant of the field was on the earth, and no vegetation was on the field, and had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not one to till the ground. So in this one, Genesis 2, before the creation of Adam and Eve, he specifically says there was no one to till the ground. So how can there be other people before Adam and Eve if there was no one to till the ground when he first started that creation? And like I said, many of the problems come.
This is where you're wrong. It's in the Bible also. So when it tells you that a day is 1,000 years to God, you looking at it like
nope.
Every day the day that he created the earth, and then because he created the moon and the stars on this day and that day, you looking at it like a 24-hour period for you.
No, so you got to understand that in Genesis 1 and in Genesis 2, it utilizes the word yom. The word yom means a 24-hour day, and in the context that is being used, because it says that was the evening and the morning, and so that was day one. It is indicating a 24-hour day. It's not how I see it. It's how is what the words mean. So, and then when in 1 Peter, when it says one day to the Lord is 1,000 years to man, that was an analogy. He wasn't, and that's why I said as, not is, because if that was
because he's trying to tell you what it is to him.
No, that's not how language works. When you use if I say I ran down the street as a good, if I ran down the street, hold on, sir. if I say I ran down the street as a cheetah, am I saying that I ran down the street and I'm a cheetah? Or is it?
It said that you was fast as that cheetah.
Right, but am I literally fast as a cheetah? Or am I just really fast?
So that's your analogy because you're trying to put that in there. But what I was saying was you can't go Hebrew on part of it and then go English on the other part. And
No,
then because
that is what the Hebrew
you know,
means. Wait a minute, what do you mean Hebrew? Wait, what do you mean Hebrew on one part and English on another part? Because the First Peter's not written in Hebrew; it's written in Koine Greek.
Okay, that's a whole nother animal. So dig this. When it says that there's other people, where did they come from then?
Well, most Christians try to use the excuse in saying that, well, Adam and Eve had a whole bunch of kids, and so
Well,
it was one of his sisters.
So when the Bible is talking about it,
Well,
what is the Bible talking about?
This is the part that's hard for many people who read the Bible don't either accept or like. Genesis 2 and Genesis 1 are not connected.
I know
As
you running from it, but just stick with what I'm asking.
bro,
What does it mean?
hold on.
Cain
Hold on. Let me give you a little bit of instruction. You don't run my show.
Okay. I don't take instruction.
You don't run my
a question. If a man can't answer, then say you're not a man.
Bruh, don't try to use that. So as I was explaining, Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 are not connected. They're written by two different groups of people. Genesis 2 does not go into where the other people were coming from. You can only try to extrapolate that by adding Genesis 1 into the story. But Genesis 2 just simply doesn't tell you. Because when it says that Adam and Eve had many sons and daughters, this is after they had Seth. So there's no indicator where those people came from in Genesis 2.
It tells you Adam and Eve's lineage, the birth. It tells you exactly who they had, who begot who.
Yeah, it does.
Where there is the other nation of people.
That's my point. It doesn't tell you. It just stipulates that there were people in the land of Nod.
It tells you that there were people there because it's trying to. The whole book is about one thing, and you want to run from it. I know y'all hate that.
No, I will grant you that that Genesis 2 is giving you the lineage of Adam and Eve and the bloodline that the Israelites claim they come from. I will give you that. But what I'm not giving is the fact that it says that they were but it does indicate that they were the first people that were created in Genesis 2 when it says that there was no man to till the land. There was no one to till the land.
To till what land?
The land the earth, because the garden hadn't been created yet. Adam hadn't been created yet.
Exactly. And when Adam was born, when he was in the garden, what was going on with the earth? How many years were they in the garden?
It doesn't specify exactly how many years they was in the garden, because it says that first this God creates Adam, right? Wait a minute, let me make sure I get it right. So first this God, he creates Adam, and let me make sure, because I don't like. Right. So first he makes Adam, then he plants the Garden of Eden, and then he places Adam in the Garden of Eden. So he had already created the earth, and there was no man to till the earth. Then he creates Adam, and then he places Adam in the Garden of Eden. So there was no man on earth at all in this description.
And then when Adam and Eve was in the garden, how long were they in the garden?
What does that matter?
Because if they were in the garden, that means their kids wasn't outside the garden. When Adam and Eve got put out, and it gives you their lineage, that's how you know that those people ain't a part of that. And if you read the Bible, for real,
when were these other people created?
No, I'm about to give it to you right now. I just gotta talk my shit first.
No. When were these other people created? When was? Okay, so understand. This is my show. When were these other people created?
I don't care about it being your show, bro. You a man. Move me if you running.
No, it's not running. It's like you're not here to pontificate. You're not going to ask me questions. I answer your question, but I ask you a question. You don't want to answer my question. We don't do it that way. And you just running in a stupid circle and not answering none of my questions.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
I like that.
Thank you. Zedek, was it Zedek? I am wearing my glasses. Oh, Zedekiah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Are you over 21?
I'm 34.
Okay. Are you believing the Bible?
Yes.
Okay. So what argument do you have that any of these things are real?
So you guys were talking about a day being 24 hours, but what a day is clearly pointed out that Genesis 1:5, it said God called the light day.
Mm-hmm.
So any further mentioning of day, he's talking and referring to the light, which makes sense because the light is 7 colors, right? 7 days, 7 lights. And this is why God used the rainbow as a representation of his promise, because he was saying, on me, I'm not going to flood the earth again.
Hold on. No.
No. So,
when it
says evening and morning, evening means erev, and it means that it's a mingling of light and darkness. And boker is a breaking forth of light from the darkness.
That is a reach. That's stretching.
It is not. It is not. It's in the Bible. It's right there. You said you want to look at the words, and these words are what's going to show it. And then Genesis 2.
Okay, so, sir.
Verses 4.
Okay, we're not going to do this. You don't be like the other guy where you just want to talk. We're not doing that, okay?
Okay.
All right, we're not just going to. We're not going to. Well, you're not going to give an understanding by just going up to some long-ass diatribe, all right? Without answering certain questions or certain issues that come up throughout your speaking. Because when you talk about 25, you're skipping all the other days where it says that was the morning and the evening, and it was the second. That was the evening and the morning, and there was the morning that was the second day, and it's going and so on to the third day, and not until the fourth day that you get the sun and the moon. Right, but in there,
it's not talking about time because it's talking about light.
But it's not.
The lights when these things were created, each light brought it.
But it's
God, the viewing of it.
To the readers of the time frame that this was written, they were talking about a 24-hour day. You're stretching more modern day thought process into it.
You have to look at the words. It said God called the light day, and the night he called darkness, right? The darkness he called night.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we see these things coming up, this is reading comprehension. We see that he's already called them what they are. That's how we are supposed to read it, and that's how they would have read it. So they weren't confused when they saw the fourth day and they saw that time was created. They weren't saying, "Oh, what? The sun and the moon is now being created. How is that possible?" When God said that these days were evening and morning. No, it's a breaking forth. They said erev, and they knew that erev was a mingling of light and darkness, and boker, the morning, is a breaking forth of that darkness, which made a full day, a darker light and a lighter light.
Right. And
so when they get to Noah and they see that the rainbow is used as a representation of God's promise, then they're not confused because they say, "Oh, God had already called the light a day. He's already called it these 7 lights. He's already called it that." So they know that God is saying, "On me, I'm not going to." Flood the earth. Made a promise upon himself.
Mm-hmm. And what does that mean when it comes to 1 Peter?
That's why Jesus said, "I'm the light of the world." Okay, what were you saying?
And how does that relate to? Because you said you would listen to the guy saying that one day is like 1,000 years to God.
Right.
So relate.
Right. So
connect that.
Okay. So a day is as 1,000 years. He's quoting David, right? In the Psalms.
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know right offhand, but I think it is a quote from Psalms, but I don't know if David wrote it or one of his poets wrote it.
Psalms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Psalms is talking about being in the light is a time like it's eternal, right? So 1,000 years to somebody in that modern time, they would have been like, let's just say that's eternal forever.
Right.
So it is what he was saying, like it. I'm not sure the word of it, but it's just like a representation. It's not using the word for word that it's here in Genesis, in the book of Genesis.
Wait,
it's using is it's like. So if it's a likeness, it's like humans. Are we gods? No, we're like gods.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he's saying. It's a likeness.
So it has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with the time frame of the creation. Right.
It could be forever, but it's like that. We wouldn't know because no human has seen a full day because we were made in the sixth day and we have not seen the seventh day, a day without evening or morning.
Wait, so
the seventh day came and died for us, and that's how we have salvation. That's what we're looking forward to.
Okay, wait. At first I was with you, and now now I'm not with you.
That's something I'm pretty into. Okay?
No, hold on, sir. Stop. Okay, see, I let you talk for a little bit, but now you just want to keep going. Come on, man.
Sorry about that. I get excited.
Okay, don't get excited because you're not going to convert me to Christianity. All right, it's never going to happen.
I'm not trying to convert anybody to Christianity.
All right.
I'm trying to turn the truth.
Yeah, well, see, that's your way of saying convert you to Christianity. All right, but
okay,
you can't go from it was like a metaphor to now it's reality when you're talking about man hasn't lived to see a whole day in relation to Genesis 1. You can't have it both ways to fit your narrative. You got to pick one or the other. And the thing about it is they are not connected to one another at all.
Yeah.
What's said in First Peter, because Peter was just using an analogy of God time. But in Genesis 1, all the context around it is suggesting the concept that they had of a 24-hour day at the time frame when this was being written, which was not by wasn't by Moses.
Genesis 1:5 shows that's not the case because it says God called the light day. So if you name something, that doesn't mean it's 24 hours. It means there's no time period until the fourth day.
And then you're adding in a 7-day concept to which the Israelites didn't even have until they came under Babylonian captivity.
Right, until they were under Paul, right?
Yeah, they was under Babylonian captivity. That's when they learned of having a 7-day calendar and adopted the 7-day calendar after that. So to insinuate that you can't talk when I'm talking and think I heard you. So to insinuate to insinuate that they had an understanding of that for Genesis 1 when they wrote it as of and Noah for 7 days and the rainbow is no, they kept the 7-day calendar because they saw 7 bodies in the sky. That's where their 7-day calendar came from.
And what bodies in the sky did they see that made sense? Where do you see that in the Bible?
No, this is Babylonian. So
okay, so
the Jewish, when you look at Jewish archaeology, demonstrates that they didn't have a concept of a 7-day week, a 360-day year until they came under Babylonian captivity, and the Babylonians had the 7-day week based on the sun, the sun, Mercury, Venus, the moon, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter. There's something in the background. So,
are you saying that God made his law according to the Babylonian calendar?
I'm saying that the Israelite people who wrote the story wrote their God to fit a 7-day Babylonian teaching. Yes.
So, okay. So can I show you that Genesis 2, like you were saying, is a completely different story. It's from inside of her life. And it says that clearly in Genesis 2 verses 4.
Say that again.
Genesis 2 is what happened inside of life. So everything seems like it's happening simultaneously. Whereas the first chapter is from God Most High's point of view, where everything in the light is divided and you can see all 7 lights in front of him. Genesis 2 is inside of the light, where everything seems to be happening simultaneously.
No, that is mystical.
I let you speak. You said you were going to speak over me. So why are we doing this? Come on.
Well, as the host, I will interrupt at certain points.
Let's be a gentleman. Can we be a gentleman?
We can, but I will ask for clarifications.
Thank you, sir.
I will ask for clarification.
Let me I will clarify. Okay, is that how things can work?
Sure, go ahead. I'm gonna give you a moment.
Thank you, sir. All right. So inside it says in Genesis 2, it said, "These are the generations of the heavens and the earth when God had made them inside of the day." So Genesis 2 verses 4 is going inside the light, whereas before that we were outside Most High's point of view, the one who has the 7 lights around.
Where is that? Where that is this is why I'm interrupting, because that statement is a theological statement. There is nothing that demonstrates that. What we know is that these are two different writings by two different groups. We know that these are two different writings by two different groups. This is not a single author.
They all the same.
No.
Line up with each other.
Now that's theological thought. That's theological rereading into the text. That is not.
You can look right at the text and see it.
No, and people have looked at that text and they come out with 50, 11 different things.
Your audiences will be wise enough to see what I'm saying is the truth. I apologize if you're not able to hear it, but I got to get back to work, and I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you being here, and I don't think my audience is going to accept anything that you just said. All right. There's a difference between actually studying this thing and studying this thing from a process of understanding exactly what the words meant to the people at the time frame that it was written. You got to understand the people, the culture, not what you think today, and not your theological concepts that you want to add to it. And that's all you're doing when you start to say things like, oh, it was God's perspective and the other person's perspective, and outside of God, inside of God, in the light, outside the light. You're just talking theology at that point. And I went through those theologies. I used to believe in those theologies, that this was God telling the overall story. And then in Genesis 2, he was being specific into the details of the story. There's nothing in there that suggests that. Not one thing that says or suggests that that is what's going on. There's a bunch of people who's in the queue, but of course half of them don't stay or accidentally. The fact
that Moses didn't want to speak directly to Pharaoh.
L Boogie. Did you mean to come up? L Boogie.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
Pretty good. I'm reading the prompt that 99% of the Bible never happened.
Right.
Am I able to ask a couple questions?
Go ahead.
Do you have the Bible in front of you?
I have versions of it in front of me, yeah.
We pull up Acts 76. I read that out loud.
Oh, I forgot a letter there. It's right there. Why am I not? I'm not getting an Acts 76.
Acts 7 and 6.
Oh, I thought you said 76. I was like, I don't remember Acts having 76, but let me look. And God spoke in these terms, that his descendants would be resident aliens in a country belonging to others who would enslave them and mistreat them during 400 years.
Okay, has that ever happened? Has there been a group of people that had went to another country that has been enslaved, been treated evil for 400 years?
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay, that's happened.
Yeah.
That's why I asked you to pull a couple more scriptures.
No. Wait, no. Before we do any scriptures, where has these people been enslaved for 400 years?
So it said they'll be enslaved and treated evilly for 400 years.
Right. They'll be enslaved. They'll enslave them and mistreat them during 400 years.
400 years, right.
So they'll be
never in history of time other than the foundational Black Americans.
Nope. You're wrong.
Yeah, I'm not wrong.
You're wrong.
All right, well, okay. Let's agree to disagree. Let's go.
No. We're not going to agree to disagree, because during the trans-Sahara slave trade, How long did it last?
1619, right?
Trans-Sahara.
No, I said that I'm talking about the transatlantic slave trade.
No, you said, has there ever been a people who were enslaved for 400 years? All right. So many North Africans, when the Arab conquest happened across North Africa, they began the trans-Sahara slave trade, which was already in practice, and it lasted for 1,200 years. So for 1,200 years, sub-Saharan Africans were enslaved in the Sahara, in the Arab nations, for more than 400 years. Europeans were enslaved in the Arab nation for more than 400 years.
What does that mean?
You said that any other people been enslaved and treated harshly for 400 years.
Right. You said more than 400. I said for 400.
So for 400 years, so it got to be exactly 400 years is what you're saying?
Isn't that what the text just said?
Okay, so what's the 400 years that
what the text says? It's a yes or no, man.
That's what I said. That's what it says. So what is the 400 years again?
They'll be enslaved and treated evilly with affliction for 400 years.
Okay, so when did that start for the transatlantic slave trade?
1619.
Sure about that?
If you want to go to 1542, but either way, 1619 to present day, we're talking 400 years right now.
No, that's more than 400 years. You said 400. It had to be 400 years.
Come on, man.
I'm doing based on what you said. When I brought up the trans-Sahara slave trade, you said that that's more than 400 years. So the Bible says 400 years. Now when you say that it's the black people in America, but it's more than 400 years.
Off of their land and all put in one land together, and then been treated evilly or treated within put in chattel slavery.
Yeah, they took people out of the sub-Saharan and brought them into North Africa, and they were enslaved. So they were out of their land and into this other land. I mean, I'm using your parameters.
Show me that in history. It's that simple, bro.
Show you the trans-Sahara slave trade. You don't know about the trans-Sahara slave trade?
I don't. I need you to tell me.
Okay. Well, I did. Arabs came in and they enslaved. They had a slave trade that took people from sub-Sahara into North Africa and into the Middle East, and they were chattel slaves. This is why the Quran have rules about chattel slavery in this book, and they were chattel slaves for over 1,200 years. It never happened.
But you said your prompt says 99% of the Bible is it never happened. So if I just want to ask, can I ask a couple questions? And you that's fine that you stepped me in that one spot, but I just got a couple more because you said 99% of the Bible.
I'll give you time for more questions, but I'm not. I gotta have the answer for the first question you asked. You said, "Has there been any other people?" And there has been other people. And then you said that it has to be exactly 400 years, but yet the African in America has been here for more than 400 years, and you said all the way up to this day. That's more than 400 years.
Ones that came in the transatlantic slave trade been here since 1619.
Right. And when would be 400 years?
2019 would be the exact 400 years.
So we're over it now. Are we? So are you saying we're not treated harshly anymore?
Also, the Bible says this kingdom will start to fall, and then we will start to remember ourselves and bethink. It says we will bethink ourselves. Start to remember who we are, to keep our commandments, and then we'll be taken out of this captivity.
So let me ask you a question. Do you have to be, so you don't have to be slaves the whole 400 years, right?
But we're still slaves. They just transformed what that is.
I'm not a slave, but are you? You're still a slave? You consider yourself a slave?
I just want to get to there's more stuff because you said.
Do you consider yourself a slave?
A descendant of one.
I mean, I'm a descendant of slave, but do you consider yourself a slave?
I'm still a captive.
You're a captive.
Yep.
So you can't get a passport and leave America?
Yeah, but I have to. You hear what you said? You have to get a passport. I have to tell somebody when I want to leave.
From
the beginning.
Actually, you don't. You don't really.
You can't just pick up and just leave and go where you want to go.
Actually, there's ways you can do that. Yes, you can.
You can't do it, man. You said there's ways, but you can't do it.
No, I just gave you one way that you can, but there are other ways that you can.
What's the way that you can? Because I wanted to get to more stuff, but I'm literally walking into a space where I can't talk too much longer.
Okay, I'm gonna just say this last little part, but I don't want anybody to try to do this. All right, but if you truly wanted to escape America, all you have to do is get on a cruise line, get to certain countries, have a cruise line and go to certain countries, get off the boat on that country, don't get back on, and then then you'll be able to stay in that country.
You would not be able to stay in that country.
Yes, you would.
Come on, man, you just being ignorant, dude.
No, I'm being a person who used to do financial fraud investigations for the United States government, and there were people who escaped from America, but we couldn't pull them out.
Once they find you, then what?
No, you didn't hear the last part. We couldn't pull them out because we didn't have an extraditionary treaty with them. So you can't escape.
Okay. I just want to get to a couple more because I'm literally getting ready to.
All right, go ahead.
Clock in. I just wanted to, because you said 99%, and so I just had a couple things that I wanted to show you, but that took a lot of time just on that one when I had literally about.
I mean, it was wrong, but go ahead. What's the other thing? You're wasting time.
Let's go to Isaiah 42 and 22.
Oh shit! I hit the wrong button. Right here. You said Isaiah
42. Oh, actually, you know what? Actually, because I don't have too much more time, let's do the Isaiah 65 and 15.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Isaiah 65. You shall leave your name to choose. You shall leave your name to my chosen, to use as a curse, and the Lord God will put you to death. But to his servants, he will give a different name.
I wish you would read the KJV. That would be so much better.
The KVJ is one of the worst translations. I never read it. It's a terrible translation.
I'm sorry, say it again.
The KJV is one of the worst translations of the Bible. I would never use it.
Okay. You said you never use it?
Yeah, it's not based on the oldest manuscripts that we actually have.
Okay. You know, when are the next time you're going to be on? Because you kind of held me to a certain spot. I had a bunch of things that I needed to show you. But I guess I didn't get a chance to get to it. But if next time you come on,
tomorrow,
I'd love to give a lot of things, just have a conversation if that's possible.
Tomorrow around 2 o'clock, between 2 and 2:30.
Say it again.
Tomorrow between 2 and 2:30 East Central Standard. So
okay,
I don't know where you are, but
look out for it.
You did catch the Central part, right? I'm in Central.
Oh, Central. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that'd be 3 to 3:30 your time.
Okay, fine. I'll shoot you a follow and I'll just look out for you.
All right, L Boogie. I like that name. All right. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna hold you to a point though. He wanted me to do I know where he's coming from, his point of view is coming from. That whole thing of you shall leave your name to choose. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so the servant that's described is the children of Israel. So he would be right in that one as far as the children of Israel. And that they will leave their name to my chosen to use as a curse, and the Lord God will put you to death. But to his servant, he will give a different name. So he's going to give his servants a different name. So he's probably going to go into how the slaves were given, they lost their names, given a different name, and so on and so forth. But the same thing can be said for the Ashkenazi Jews. they left their land. They went into Europe. They adopted, many of them adopted religion, and they had different names. Look at the guy who's running Israel right now. His original name is not the name that he goes by now. He has a Polish name. So his family adopted a Polish name. I mean, you can do that same thing. And then a couple of people said that you have to have a passport to get on a cruise. If you have a closed loop cruise, meaning that it leaves an American territory, comes back to American territory, you don't have to have a passport for those, just a real ID to get on those cruises, right? So you don't have to have a passport. You get on the cruise. There are certain countries, even in the Caribbean, just look up non-extraditionary countries in the Caribbean and South America and Central America, and that will give you where you can go, get off a boat, and not have to come back to America. So look up non-extraditionary countries, find a cruise line that leaves America and go there, and you can do it. So there are ways to leave this country and not come back. You got to go through some shit, but you can do it. And then there are other ways when you leave this country, even if you went to an extraditionary country, how to get to another country from that country. You just got to know some people. All right, Breezy.
What's up, my guy? How you doing today?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. I was scrolling and I ran past your page, and then I just got stuck listening, man. A couple of things, like I just want to make sure. So what you're claiming is exactly what's posted, right?
Yeah.
99% of the Bible never happened.
Yeah.
And is that based on travels, or is that based on studying that you've done that has led you to believe that?
Actually, good question. Both. Most people just leave it at studying, but yes, both traveling and studying.
Excellent. So, do you believe in Ethiopia?
Do I believe in Ethiopia?
Yeah, like as a whole, do you believe that it exists? Do you believe any of that?
Well, I know the modern day country that we call Ethiopia exists. Yes.
Yeah. And what was it called before
Oxium.
modern day Ethiopia?
For a while, it was called Oxium, and then it was a time frame that it may have been called the Demit.
But it's the land of Kush, right?
No. The Kush would have been like northern Sudan,
which is right next to Ethiopia, which is what was called. It was called the land of Kush.
Yeah, the land of Kush would be north of Ethiopia. It would be northern Sudan, but not Ethiopia itself. Not what we call Ethiopia. Not the Oxium Empire. It wouldn't have been called that. Oh, I know you're looking up something, but if you're talking while you're looking it up, I can't hear you.
Oh no, I was just making sure I wasn't wrong. It is. If you look at it right now, you'll see that it was called the land of Kush. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't tripping.
No, I mean I could be tripping. Yeah. No, modern day Ethiopia was not the ancient Kush kingdom of Kush. Kush was primary.
Modern day with the borders, but
you went away. I didn't hear what I can't hear you, man.
No, apologies. So Kush with a K, it was.
No, I'm looking.
It's right in Google.
I'm looking at it right now, and I use these probably the same Google AI that you use probably. And it says that no, modern day Ethiopia was not the ancient kingdom of Kush. Kush was located primarily in present day Sudan and southern Egypt. Confusion also arises because ancient writers of the Bible translated the use of the word Ethiopia as a general term for all Black Africans south of Egypt, including Kush. So Ethiopia just means burnt face. So anytime the Bible says Ethiopia, it's not talking about the Oxium Empire. It's not talking about modern day, the land that is modern day Ethiopia. In most instances, it's just talking about Black people in southern Egypt. and for them, Northern Sudan, because they didn't have knowledge, a whole lot of knowledge of the lower parts of Africa, even East Africa. That comes later in their knowledge base. So when it speaks of the Ethiopian eunuch, it's not talking about someone from the Axiom Empire.
Well, modern day Ethiopia, but Kush or the Kushites were all the descendants went into Sudan and into Ethiopia.
No, there were already people there.
No, this is what it says. So if you look at it, you see that's why they say it's a common misconception because so many migrated there.
Okay, I don't. You know what? I will give you that some people, especially when the Egyptians came down and reconquered the Kush Empire, that some people would have ran down to what is modern day Ethiopia and migrated there. I will agree that once trade relations opened, that people went down there to trade and moved there.
Well, the reason I state that is because of the churches, like Lalibela, some of the churches that have been built in that region underground, and they're like these magnificent like feats of architecture because they've been built completely underground, so they were able to worship underground,
right?
And it won't be seen by the common, like if you walking by, you just wouldn't see it.
Okay.
So I say that because history, of course, is written by people that we've never met in a lifetime. As much as we want to attribute, this being this age or that age or this age, we've never met the actual person that may or may not have transcribed some of these things. So we have to go off a written language, we have to go off a written word and pass down word.
Well, not necessarily. We also have archaeology, but
even archaeology would only boast of our claim. The reason I bring up Ethiopia in particular is because it is known to have the oldest, most complete Bible known to man.
No, it doesn't.
That's not me saying that. That's a Google fact also. You can also Google that. But
okay.
Ethiopia does have the most complete Bible.
Have you ever looked at what's the date of that Bible?
That Bible, I mean, it was written in a language called Ge'ez, which is no longer
Ge'ez.
Ge'ez,
and
different
and it's still utilized today.
That language is considered a dead language. Despite it being, it's almost like Latin, but despite it being, written in that form.
And Latin may be Latin is, people may consider Latin a dead language, but people still learn how to speak Latin. People still speak Ge'ez because the Ethiopian Bible has never been translated to any other language. It is still only in Ge'ez. So people still speak Ge'ez. Just like if you go to a Catholic church and they start speaking in Latin.
Oh no, it has been translated.
Actually, it hasn't.
You can buy an English version. You can buy English version. Right
No. Let me warn you. That's a scam. So what they have done is that they have taken. We understand what the 88 books are in the Ethiopian Bible, and what?
No, Ethiopian Bible has more than 88.
Oh well, from my knowledge, it was 88, but whatever the number is. But what people have done is that they said, okay, the Ethiopian Bible has the books of Enoch in it. And what they've done is that they've taken where we do have a translation of the book of Enoch from the time frame that it was written around 2 to 1 BCE, 200 to 100 BCE. And they've taken those translations that are translated into English and they put them in a book that they then say this is what the Ethiopian Bible has. But what people in Ethiopia have done is they've looked at those translations and look at what they have, and they're like, nah, it's not the same. Some books are shorter, some books are longer. They have, some of them have different messages.
Yeah, of course.
So you don't have so that's why I said there's actually no English translation of the Ge'ez book. Ethiopia has never authorized an English translation, but that people have pieced it together. And that's what they're selling people online right now.
I don't want to get caught up in it. We can disagree because people that do speak the language or that have been passed, it's been passed down orally through tradition. they have also given way of translating some of the scriptures.
Okay.
We don't have to get caught up on that.
Okay, but
I
how
think
does any
what
of
I'm
this
trying to get at-
prove
and
this?
the reason
Because
I
it,
bring up Ethiopia
Yeah.
is because of from a historical fact, right? History, I think, as I stated before, I wasn't there. I wasn't present.
Mhm.
All I can go off is what was written, was given to me, was
Mhm.
presented, and what I believe and hold to be true. And I tied Ethiopia with where life started, which would be Mesopotamia.
okay, but hold on for 1 second. Hold on. You spoke about the churches in Ethiopia, Church of Lalibela, right?
Mhm.
That church is,
Lalibela is one of them.
huh?
No, I said Lalibela is one of them. There's many that
Okay.
were built under.
But the
underground.
okay, the oldest church that we have in Ethiopia is 4th century. It was built after King Azana converted over to Christianity. So it's 4th century. How does a 4th century church prove things that happened 300 years prior and more?
That's super duper easy, man, because most of those were descendants from the house of Judah. Most of them are descendants, direct descendants of David. And that's why, if you look at the reason I brought that up as well, if you look at who Emperor Selassie is,
There we go.
Emperor Haile Selassie was attributed to be the direct descendant of King of David.
By whom?
From David, well,
By whom?
by whom he himself.
Exactly.
And I mean,
He claimed it himself with no verification whatsoever.
oh, there was verification.
No, he made up
Definitely
shit.
tracing.
There is absolutely no way.
man,
There
don't
is
go
there
like
is
that.
absolutely
Menelik was traced back to Menelik. So
show
I don't-
what proves that Menelik was the king of Ethiopia and that he was the son of Solomon.
because these are written, handed down traditions, we're just gonna discredit them and say, oh no, you know what, that never happened.
I mean,
You know,
Hercules was a written hand down tradition. Do you believe in Hercules?
Well, I don't want to even get into that because that's for me that's a mute point because I believe that that's not actual mythology. I think that the Greeks actually had it right and that there were these great heroes because the Bible talks about it. It talks about men of renown.
Okay,
And
Hercules may have been the king of Argos, and then his story got legendized. But the
he was the son of Zeus, right?
son of Zeus part, the ascending into the heavens,
My whole point.
and all of that stuff.
I don't think that's mythology.
That's okay. That's a personal thought. I see it's mythology because there's no proof that he ascended into the heavens. He didn't. There's no proof he fought a Hydra, killed a snake when he was a baby in his crib. There's none of that is provable. You can't prove none of that.
But you can't also disprove it either.
We can
In the
disprove.
same
We
regard.
can we can
In the same
disprove.
regard, you can't disprove it.
Yes, we can disprove that he rose up into the heavens and became the constellation that is now known as Hercules because those stars are way older than the story of Hercules would have than Hercules would have ever existed on Earth. Those stars were already there.
I can't say that. I can't say that either. I
You-
can't say that
You
either.
you
And
think
that's because again,
you think
neither one of us was there, and we're both depending on what somebody else is giving us as information.
so? You don't.
Um,
So you understand we can measure the speed of light, right?
I understand we also utilize things that we call science, and it's still considered pseudoscience.
What's considered pseudoscience?
When you say things like we can measure at the speed of light,
That-
yes, according to our calculations and according to modern day science, yes, that is factual. We definitely can. But in all retrospect, you can't tell me what the speed of light was 85 years ago, or 135 years ago, or 400 years ago. It would be speculative. It's all speculation.
No,
There was no written
the speed of
record.
light does not change. The speed of light is a constant. So
According to modern day science, it does not. But we don't know that. We can't say that it's never changed or it never existed. That's just something that I think that's a bold claim that we can't make because
that is an
One
easy claim to make because we can observe it and we can test it to this day. The light, the
when
amount,
were those tests created? When were those tests created? When was the ability to do this created?
the ability makes no difference. We still would know what the speed of light is. So what you're saying is that those stars, the stars that make up the Hercules constellation, that they didn't appear until Hercules appeared. But if they did appear when Hercules appeared, we still would not be able to see those lights. They wouldn't have been able to see.
I'm stating that because you and I, me and you, man, you and I have never left this earth. Ever. We've never left this earth to be able to say when a constellation appeared, disappeared, came about, was created, didn't exist, now it exists. We don't have that ability, man. But we can both speculate and we can both get caught up in the weeds and say, hey, you know what, I think it did.
Okay.
Or I didn't think it. I think that's why it's gonna be a circular argument.
So if we use your thought process, then you cannot state that shit, I just forgot it. What's your man's name that you just said earlier? Haile Selassie.
Oh, Haile Selassie.
Haile Selassie is from the line of Solomon. You weren't. Were you there? Were you? But were you there? Do you know those people?
I know, but I'm saying it's based on what you have studied and what you have learned, right? And you can learn something wrong. You can learn the wrong thing easily.
So we can't. So if it's based on what we study and what we learn, we know the speed of light.
No, according to what you have studied or what you have learned, personally.
So according to what you have studied, what you have learned, you believe that Menelik exists.
I would ask you this. I'd play devil's advocate. Is there any science or anyone that may oppose the data to the speed of light, or oppose?
Honestly, I've never heard of one. Is there one? I don't know, but to my knowledge, I've never heard of any scientist in modern day that opposes the speed of light.
But that's how science generally works. You know, someone makes a claim, and then they use a scientific method to prove expose or to prove it.
And no one has ever, in peer review of the speed of light.
I don't want to get caught up on that. I mean, because we can get off of tangents, and I enjoy talking to you. We can get off of tangents. I think the most important thing that I'm trying to relay here is that perception is reality, and what you perceive may not be reality, or it may be reality. There has, in every major religion across the board, there has been always a written and oral tradition of a great deluge throughout millennia. This has always existed. So it's not like just the Bible talks about it. And most stories start with the cradle of civilization, which is modern day Iraq, otherwise known as Mesopotamia.
No, you don't.
That Iraq has the oldest form of written language.
Who wrote those? And
if you
right,
believe in the Bible,
right?
You believe in the Bible,
no,
right? The Bible says that the Garden of Eden was placed between the Tigris and the Euphrates River.
Well, not placed between it. The Garden of Eden, from the Garden of Eden, flowed the Euphrates, the Tigris, the Gihon, and the Pison. They flowed from it.
It was two rivers. It was the Tigris and the Euphrates.
No, it's four rivers. It's four rivers.
No, I agree that there is four rivers, but I'm saying in the Bible, the scripture specifically references the Tigris and the Euphrates.
It specifically references all four.
Hold on. I'll pull.
And I still want you to prove that Menelik, because without the Ethiopian Bible, there is nothing about Menelik. There's no Ethiopian history about Menelik. Nowhere. And I know what he's looking for, but let me go ahead and find it for him as far as the rivers. Where is that Garden of Eden?
2:10 through 14. We can read it out. I can read it out loud, or you can read it together, or, whatever the case may be.
I got it.
Genesis 2:10 through 14.
A river flows a river flows out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divides and becomes four branches. The name of the first is the Pison. It is the one that flows around the whole of the land of Havilah, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. Bdellium, and onyx stones are there. The name of the second river is Gihon, and it is the one that flows around the whole of the land of Cush. The name of the third river is Tigris, which flows east of Assyria, and the fourth river is the Euphrates. So 4 rivers from whatever the primary river that comes out of the Garden of Eden.
So again, what I was making a claim to is that Iraq and Syria, that region is known as the cradle of civilization. That's what it's called. And the written like from Gilgamesh,
Mm-hmm.
which is was in actual, and I don't want to get too conspiracy theory on you, but the Temple of Gilgamesh was actually in the Hillary Clinton emails that was washed away, where they had allegedly found the actual temple. Sorry, I apologize. The burial site for the king Gilgamesh. And reading about Gilgamesh was this great giant warrior king who was approximated to be a certain amount of feet, this, that, and the third.
Right.
I don't want to get into that history.
He was a demigod or
But
a Nephilim.
in
Put it that way.
every single civilization on this planet, ancient, any form of ancient, we can go to India,
Mm-hmm.
we can go to Tibet, anywhere, they all speak of giants. All of them, every last one of them.
Yeah.
Have a giant story, and they have a story of a great deluge. In fact, Mount Everest, which is the highest point above ground, has had actual proof that there was water at the top, meaning that there was water over that mountain at some point in time.
Yeah.
Because they have found
Seashells.
they found
Fossilized
actual,
seashells.
like, fossilizations from,
Uh-huh.
that you can only attribute to having water or being submerged in water.
Yep.
So with all these things that I'm saying, I'm gonna circle the wagon. With all these things, history has a way of either proving itself or disproving itself.
Mhm.
Right? For you to say that the creation, 99% of the Bible never happened. For you to say the creation story, most people are like, oh, it happened. They look at it not from an actual factual state, but the creation story comes out of Mesopotamia. It comes out of Iraq, as written on the tablets of Gilgamesh. These are all verifiable. Whether you believe it or not, that's totally up to you. But these are all verifiable on those tablets, emerald tablets that they're called as well. We talked about those. There's a story of a great deluge, and some actually attribute.
I thought you was gonna circle this wagon, man. You're going a long way around to circle this wagon.
Well, what I'm saying is that we have a lot of history, and a lot of history means that there's some things that may be true, there's some things that may not be true. But I think that from a creation standpoint, for us to not interpret the Bible correctly, I think that's what the common misconception is.
Okay.
And
My guy.
the creation story definitely happened.
No, it didn't. The creation story by the Bible is a later rendition of other people's stories. So let me hit that first, and I'm gonna do this a hell of a lot faster, utilizing the things that you brought up.
Well,
So
can you explain how the creation story? Can you explain the creation story, or what you perceive the creation story to be? Because I think that's very important.
No,
For you to say not happen.
no. I'll let you talk, man. I'll let you go 11 miles just to go 2 miles. All right. So I'm just gonna go 2 miles. Your claim is that the biblical creation story is a true story that actually happened, because every other group has these deluge stories. There's fossilized seashells on the top of Mount Everest, and the cradle of civilization being Mesopotamia, and the oldest writings coming out of that area. So the oldest writings that come out of that area of Mesopotamia are not Hebrew. It's not Hebrew. It's not even Proto-Hebrew. It's not Aramaic either. It's Sumerian and Akkadian. Is written in cuneiform. So before there was ever a alphabet style language, there was pictorial languages like cuneiform and hieroglyphics. So it's written in cuneiform. They describe a deluge that happened over a 6-day period, where all the land was supposedly underwater for only 6 or 7 days, not over a year, to which the Noah story talks about. So these stories were written long before Hebrew or Israelites ever came onto the scene, and they're written about their gods, Enlil, Enki, or if you're reading the Babylonian version, which is the Gilgamesh epic, it calls them Ea. In India, whose language is older than the Hebrew language, when they talked about Manu and how there was a flood and Manu saved a family and so on and so forth, they were talking about their gods, not and a multitude of gods, not the Hebrew gods. And then as far as the Mount Everest is one of the youngest mountain ranges on the planet. It was created when the subcontinent of India moved into the Asian continental shelf and then created those mountains, yes, from under the water. Those the Himalayan mountain ranges were created, but they're one of the youngest mountain ranges, and yet they are still millions of years old, which is way older than the Bible describes creation, because the Bible is describing creation to have happened about a little over 6,000 years ago. So if we wanted to know how things happen, the Bible is not the historical book to tell us how these things happen. And this flood, and the last part of the flood.
The reason I can't agree with that because you just stated that the mountains were older than the creation story.
Yeah.
The only form of testing that theory would be carbon dating, which we all know that is a flawed version of testing.
You don't use carbon dating for dating rocks and fossils. You use
millions. What is the format for using
radiometric dating, like uranium dating? When we date rocks and things like that, we use like uranium dating for those things. So we don't use carbon dating for that. Carbon dating only works when there's a biological material available. If there's no biological material available, then we don't. And carbon dating can only go back about 50,000 years. So we use, when we're dating rock layers, we use things like uranium dating.
I just find that funny because it's like, that's a flawed system.
Why is that a flawed system?
It's a flawed system because it was created, man, and there is no way to say that something is millions of years old. It's not possible.
Have you ever researched radiometric dating?
Yeah, I have, and I know that according to modern science, that is 1% accurate. I mean, the level. I'm sorry, the level of inaccuracy, according to, as long as it stays within the scientific, the confinement of scientific method, then it can be I think it's like a really small percentage that it can be considered like inaccurate. Like basically, that it has a very high accuracy rate according to modern science. I'm aware of that. But
right.
Carbon dating, radiometric dating, any type of study of fossilization, it's all a guesstimate.
It's not it's a guesstimate as far as how it gives a range.
No. Let's be honest. It's a range, which means you can't tell me the specific date, time, location, and in most cases, you can't even tell me how it was created.
Okay, I find it a bit hypocritical that when we look at radiometric dating, you're saying that you got to give an exact time and so on and so forth. Otherwise, it's flawed. What was the year of God's creation? What's the exact time? When does the Bible tell you the exact time and day that creation happened?
No.
Does it tell you the exact time and day that Adam was created?
No.
So when it comes to your belief, you don't have to have exact times and date. But when it comes to science, you have to have an exact time and date.
But I mean, that's according to us saying that AD and BC, the modern calendar that we use, before Christ and after Christ, after the death of Christ. So I mean, again, that's something that you may not attribute to.
That's not how that works, by the way. Anno Domini does not mean after death. It means in the year of our Lord. That's what that means.
No, I know. I'm just stating that when it's written in textbooks or when it's written or it's taught, it's AD is considered after the death of Jesus Christ.
No, it's considered in the year of the year of the Lord. So it starts with the birth.
I'm agreeing with you. That's not get caught. I'm agreeing with you.
I'm just trying to correct you so that you don't use after death. Stop using.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm telling you that when it's taught, like if you go to school in elementary school, whatever school you learn that in, especially if you go to a Catholic school, they're going to teach you that means after the death of Christ.
No.
We're not going to get into the subject. Okay.
And Catholic school, they teach you that it's Anno Domini, that it's in the year of our Lord. And they tell you how ancient people used to use calendars based on the year of the reign of a certain king. And it wasn't until the Gregorian calendar was enforced, although it was created about some, centuries earlier, that when they started that, it was during the Pope Gregory, and he instituted the time frame to count from, and it started with when they thought Jesus might have been born, which is the year 1, which actually is incorrect when you look at the Bible and what the Bible says when Jesus would have been born. So, but that is a very good way of counting time backwards by attaching those time frames to it. Those people back then would not have called it that year, but still, the point is, you can't give me an exact date for Noah, for Adam and Eve, but you want an exact date in radiometric dating.
Because those days were longer, man. It said that Maria he shortened the days.
He shortened the days of a person's life. He didn't shorten the days. He shortened man's life to 120 years. He didn't shorten the days.
I mean, that's not my understanding of it. My understanding was that the days were short.
Where did you get that understanding?
Just based on how when God first created the earth, he created the sun and the moon.
On the 4th day, when he created the sun and the moon to govern the time of the day and the time of the night.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So, and that's what I was trying to get to with the other guy before. The sun and the moon creation on the 4th day was just to govern the time frame of the day and time frame of the night. It doesn't invalidate day 1, day 2, day 3 as being different time frames. But even if I did agree with you on that one, Genesis happened when Genesis happened and the days started being based on the moon and the sun. After that, all time is exactly the same. So why can't you give me the day and time of Adam and Eve, the day and time of Noah, the day and time of Abraham? Because what scholars do look at, and what I look at myself, is I give a range for when those things would have happened, according to what the Bible is stating.
But see that, and that's why this argument is considered circular, because you can't give me an exact date and time, nor can I give you an exact date and time. We can give a guesstimate as to the range or the area or the time frame.
Yeah,
but there's no exact date and time.
But it's pretty
right?
damn accurate though, but even in giving the range shows that these certain events could not have happened during that range. They could not have happened. So, do you know the range time frame for Moses and the Exodus?
According to our system of time, yeah. I mean, from AD to BC, yeah.
So,
but, again, I can't say that that's accurate either.
Okay, so when did Moses exist? What's your range? Thank you for the jewels, Prince Tommy. Thank you, appreciate that. And if you put a comment with your jewels or your gifts, your super chats, I will definitely read out those comments. He's looking it up, so that's why I went ahead and did that one.
Yeah, so according to this, it's between the 14th and 13th century.
All right, so that would be between 1200 BCE and 1300 BCE, right?
Correct.
Now, you're a smart guy, right? So, if Egypt, who was a dominant empire during that time frame, had experienced the plagues that the Bible claims, what would have happened to their economy and the economy around them?
Of course, it would have went into turmoil. It would have been catastrophic.
Okay, but when we look at Egypt during those time frames, Egypt flourished. So the archaeology shows that Egypt didn't go through a time frame then where the economy crashed. And if Egypt's economy had crashed, then Greek economies would have crashed. They weren't considered Greek at the time, but the Minoans would have crashed. The Levant would have crashed. All that Mediterranean area in there would have crashed. But they thrived during that time frame.
But that's also according to oral data.
No,
some written data.
No, that's according to, we can see that there were large building constructions that was going on during that time frame. We see that the Egyptian armies went out and they conquered all throughout the Levant during that time frame.
What's wild is that you'll say that, but you can't tell me when the Sphinx or who created the Sphinx.
Oh,
or the pyramids of Giza. Who created the pyramids of Giza?
Well, actually, because of the work of John Adam West, then the Sphinx and the pyramids were most likely at least 13,000 BCE when the Sahara Desert was green.
That's also a guesstimate, man.
No, it's not a guesstimate because the water
they just found these huge cylinders under the Sphinx.
Has nothing to do not under the pyramids.
Because they think
under the pyramids, not the Sphinx.
No, the Sphinx as well. I watched a whole documentary on it. They talked about how there's erosion from water. How it was once at one point it was erosion, and now they using ground penetrating radar, whatever the case may be. They found that there's something under the Sphinx.
Well, we know there's something under the Sphinx, but we know there's structures under the Sphinx. We've known that for a long time. But the LiDAR use recently, that was done on the Sphinx is right there next to the pyramids. But the columns that you're talking about were found under the pyramids and some of the grounds before that, but not necessarily directly. I'm splitting hairs, so it doesn't matter. But that has nothing to do with knowing that the Sphinx and the pyramids were around when the Nile River was 8 miles closer, and the Sahara was green. The Sahara has went through time frames where it's been green and desert,
just as Antarctica did.
So the Sphinx was around at least a minimum 13,000 BCE.
That's according to what we have as modern day science and how we use our counting system and how we also have record of the Greeks talking about it and some of the things that traditionally were passed down.
Well, we have what the Egyptians put it on in stone on the wall. So
correct. That's my whole point. That I mean, we're pretty much saying the same thing. That's my whole point. So if the Egyptians have talked about a great deluge,
the Egyptians didn't talk about a great deluge. They talked about the Nile River flooding, but they have never talked about the whole world flooding. There's not one Egyptian story of the whole world flooding. The people of the Incas never talked about the whole world flooding. They just talked about a river and a lake flood.
Incorrect that I was wrong. I was wrong about that. They talked about a great flood, but it was not the great deluge. But again, Egypt isn't as old as Mesopotamia.
Egypt is like right there with Mesopotamia, and they're right there with Mesopotamia.
It can't be, because I mean, cuneiform and those things predate them according to modern dating system. They predate all of that.
By how much?
Does it? I mean, but that's still a guesstimate. It's all a guesstimate. And in fact, where did Egypt learn to write and get hieroglyphics? Because according to them, they were a separate race of people. They weren't considered human. Egyptians weren't considered human as we know humans to be. They considered themselves to be, especially the Pharaoh, they considered themselves to be a separate race of people.
Okay, they can consider themselves to be a separate race of people all they want to, but when we look at the bones, when we look at the DNA from the mummies, which thankfully they have, we know that they were Homo sapiens. They weren't Homo erectus or Homo habilis. They were Homo sapiens. So were the people of Mesopotamia.
Well, I mean that depends if you believe in the Gilgamesh story.
I mean, I don't believe it that in the Gilgamesh story, as far as some of he was a demigod and he talked to this god and that god and defeated the Lelutu and all that stuff. But was he most likely a king that ruled in certain parts of Mesopotamia? Sure.
So but do you think that Iraq? Do you think that the stories in Iraq and the things that have been given in Iraq, and I mean pretty much everything? Because I mean, for me, I look back at history and I look at like Genesis 6 and 4, where it talks about the Nephilim,
mm-hmm.
and in every single story, from in every single culture, there's talks of beings who came and taught man,
Yeah, everybody.
and they were considered gods.
Okay.
And they were considered gods.
And how does any of that prove the Bible version is correct?
Because if the Bible says that the Nephilim directly came down, mated with the women of earth, and created a race, the Raphaim, the Nephilim, they created them, and then every, I mean, I can see there's like not one, but every single civilization has talks of beings who either were had been mated with some form of animal or had mated with another human that created a race.
So let me ask you. Let me ask you a question. So you do have this commonality around the world. What is another commonality that you have around the world is what we now today call dinosaur bones. If in most cases, dinosaurs are not found intact. You find a big old femur. And if you are a ancient civilization and you find a big femur, what do you call it? What do you think those people would have thought of finding a big old leg bone? Do you think they would have thought that there was giant dinosaurs or that they were giant humans because they know that they have the same bone in their leg or similar bone in their leg?
I mean, to be honest with you, man, that's a little difficult to say because I mean, again, I don't want conspiracy theory on you, but I don't necessarily believe in the dinosaurs as has been modern day told.
We have found whole skeletons of dinosaurs. Like
I think it's a
the whole damn thing.
For me, when we talk about the Smithsonian and controlling, and again, I don't want to get off a tangent because I don't agree on a tangent, but when we talk about the Smithsonian and them controlling our information and how we receive information on dinosaurs, and then you talk about actual what is considered a dinosaur, I think that I just, for me personally, I can ascribe to what we've been taught about dinosaurs. At one point, they taught us that the T-Rex had little arms, and now they say the T-Rex had longer arms and had feathers.
Yeah, because
as opposed to the.
So you do know how science works, right? Science is not a closed book. Science allows for new information to be brought in, and if it shows us something different and we can test it, then we say, okay, well, that was wrong, and now this is more accurate. That's how the scientific method works. And it should be how the historical method works. But because people get stuck on whatever bias that they have, they stay where they are. So science, yeah. I'm 54. When I was a kid, dinosaurs were all big giant lizards. But we have seen over time of more and more information gathering that dinosaurs are more relatable to birds than they are to lizards.
Again, I mean that's based on interpretation, man. Because according to modern day science, we also come from a line of squids and octopus.
Well, not necessarily squids and octopus, but other aquatic animals. Sure, we can look. I
watched a documentary on how we were direct descendants of octopus, and it was mind blowing.
I don't know about that part. So I would have to know who made the.
I didn't say I agree with it. I just said I watched it. And I took the information. I was like, wow, they talk about a lot of things. But, again, that's what I'm saying. When we say things like creation story in the Bible is false, I can't say that. And that's what I was getting at before. When we tie in all of the conversation about all the civilizations who have written history, and they all have damn near eerie how similar the stories are, from the Mayas to the Incans to the Aztecs, to South America and Brazil, that town, when you go over to Egypt, when you go over to Mesopotamia, when you go to Russia, all these places have similar stories. Now,
so why let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a quick question. Why is since the Mesopotamian story is older than the Israelite story, why do you not then believe the Mesopotamian story over the biblical story?
Because the way in which the book has been written and it has ways to be collected, I believe in this story more or less so because I feel like it's more complete. Just based on my own personal travels, my own personal studies, the books that I've read, things that I've watched, based on my own interpretation. So it may be flawed and it may not be correct, but that's just how I perceive it because that's what I've studied and that's what I've learned.
Okay.
And when it comes to the creation story in particular, because I know where it comes from. See, one thing that I think that we, and I say we, not necessarily you per se, because I know you've done your own separate studies and your own separate research. When we look at the Bible, I believe that people read it in a horrible way. It's not read from a historical point. It's read from literal, I would say, but it's read from a point where there's no pre-understanding and they don't want to get an understanding as to how everything coagulates or everything fits into a puzzle piece.
Well,
This is the reason why I know the creation story. There's two separate creation stories in the Bible. One mentions Lilith and one mentions, Eve.
Lilith is not in the Bible. That's in books
Lilith-
outside the Bible.
No, again, what I'm saying that that is what my studies have taught me, that Lilith was the initial creation, but because she didn't want to be
She didn't want to be on the bottom.
She didn't want to be on the bottom, essentially. And then I've also read. I've read so many books.
So that is from
And I've looked at
that's from the Book of Adam, right? Book of Adam
Book
and
of
Eve.
Adam, and then you have Book of the Dead. You have a couple of different books. Not the Book of the
I
Dead.
haven't read Book of Dead.
What's the name of the alternate Bible? I can't think of it right offhand. But there's another Bible out there that discusses Lilith and
Okay, but you still really, so basically you just have a preference for the Bible because that's the one that you grew up on most likely. Because if you were thinking about this without a predetermined landing point based on your logic, then you would accept the cuneiform writings of the Epic of Gilgamesh before you accept the Bible.
I do.
All right, so the Noah story
Because
is
the Bible, all the Bible is a collection of books. The Bible isn't one complete story. It's not just a story that's complete and just ran through. Because we have to talk about what was Jesus reading from, even the Torah, right? The first 4 books,
Mhm.
and then we talk about the Book of Enoch, how the Book of Enoch was referenced, but that was never put in the canonized version of the Bible.
well, I mean,
Right,
it
and
wasn't written until the second at best the 2nd century BCE. So you're writing
I
it
mean,
at a time frame.
most of the books came in a different time frame, all the books, and then they
All
were
of them.
collectively put together and canonized, right? And that's how we have the modern day Bible. But I look at everything, right? I'm a person, I like to look at everything, right? From
Yeah.
all aspects of life and all aspects.
But you have a biblical bias, though.
I wouldn't say a biblical bias.
No, you have a
I
biblical bias.
biblical preference. A biblical preference.
That's a
I wouldn't say
bias.
because I'm open, because according to the Bible itself, I'm open to see how other things fit within the Bible.
Okay, so so I need to let some other people get up here, but let me ask. This is what I'm asking you to do. Research Adam's calendar. This is a area in Southern Africa that, from everything we know now, appears to be a civilization that was existing in Southern Africa at minimum somewhere between 25 to 75,000 years ago. If that civilization existed, Mesopotamia is not the cradle of civilization, because there was already a civilization in Southern Africa before any civilization appeared in Mesopotamia.
That's what we would have to.
And then also look at Göbekli Tepe and Tıran Tepe, which are
I'm very familiar with Göbekli Tepe, Machu Picchu.
Okay.
We can go
well,
on
Machu
down.
Picchu is later, but Göbekli-
Machu Picchu. We don't know where Machu Picchu is.
but
The
Göbekli
civilization that disappeared.
but Göbekli Tepe, the what disappeared?
The civilization that lived in the Machu Picchu or that resided, they disappeared. No one knows what happened to them.
I thought that was the Aztecs and Mayans.
that's what was alleged to be the Aztec Empire. But
No, that were the Incas.
what
Machu Picchu is the Incas.
But what was told to, when I went, what was told to me that the civilization that lived prior to the civilization that we know to have inhabited those lands, it was built prior to them existing.
Okay, but that's the other side of the country. Turan Tepe and Göbekli Tepe in existence around 9,000 to 13,000 BCE. That's before any of the Akkadian Sumerians. So that would put them as a cradle of civilization before them, and that's not in Mesopotamia, that's in Turkey. So Mesopotamia, and more scholars are coming to this agreement, Mesopotamia is not the cradle of civilization. Civilization existed before them.
I think we again, I think that's a bold claim to make. But again, that's a circular argument.
Well, if Göbekli and Turan Tepe are older than, if they're 9,000 and 13,000 BCE, is that not civilization before Mesopotamian civilization?
But that's a guesstimate. That's all a guesstimate.
Okay.
There's nothing that proves that that's the date and time, like we said before. Everything that we're talking about right now is guesstimate. Everything that we're talking about is speculative.
No, it's not. It's not. You admitted that radiometric dating is accurate up to only a 1 to 2% deviation, and that they do give a range.
According to modern science. But if you compare those to what the Greeks had as written history or oral history, there's a conflating argument there.
Yeah, they just making shit up. But I got it.
They predate us. So how can something that predates us make some shit up when they're basing it off, or they're written and understanding?
So you believe there were cyclopses and shit running around?
Oh, 1,000%.
Okay.
1,000%. Centaurs, everything. I mean, we can go down the list. The Bible mentions centaurs.
No, the Bible doesn't mention centaurs, but I want to let some other people get up here before because I only got like an hour and a half left. Well, hour and 10 minutes left. But I appreciate you, Breezy. Okay. I mean, I can't argue. The man says that he agrees with all the stuff, but there is definitely I'm sorry, all these people came up. I don't know who was first, who was second, who was third. Shishat. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay. How you doing? Oh, thank you for the 10 jewels.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. What are your thoughts?
Everybody go over and see Deconstruct on YouTube. Excellent channel. Excellent.
Appreciate it. Appreciate that.
People have to get out of the circle to understand these things. The Greeks didn't know that much about chemistry. All these writers and philosophers that they worship, Plato, Strabo, the only one that I think had any insight was Manetho. And they have to understand that the Greeks conquered chemistry. They did not have all the ancient knowledge of chemistry. They were only given but so much. And I think at the most one was even only in the ancient mystery schools for about 18 years.
Yeah, Pythagoras was about 18 years, 18 to 20 years.
So they have to get out of this mantra that they gave all of us and realize that on in ancient chemistry is Zep Tepe, the first time. All of that lower delta area sits on, I forget how many feet of ancient temples and buildings that they don't tell the general public. Why? Because they want you to follow along in this path and assume that Sumer in Mesopotamia, all those lands, was the beginning. Whereas they say, oh, it's, what is it, Euphrates and Tigris River, came between two rivers. Well, that can be found all over the world. but it's not the beginning. That is not the beginning. And they incorrectly give dates to ancient Kemet. That's what it was called before the Greeks renamed it. They give it this timeline to constantly coincide with Mesopotamia. But it was before Mesopotamia, way before. And if they would take these shackles off of these archaeologists, geologists, and whoever they have up in there giving this history, then they would tell you the true age. What is it? They did that SARS LiDAR.
Yeah.
And they said that they gave it the date of 38,000 years. I think it's even more because it had to take time to build it. Am I correct?
Yeah, and it had to take time to cover it.
And they won't let anybody say these things in these journals, these peer review. They will not allow for the people to understand that it is older. And you know, it's something funny about getting older because you see these timelines they invent. And I remember to 2010, 2015, they denied that the lower part of the Nile, which is the beginning, and well, I would ascribe it to all of it, but they denied the fact that the lower part of the Nile's pyramids were older, or that the civilization was older. They don't know. All they're giving us is what we're following, and they're lying about it. Plain and simple.
Well, I wouldn't say that. You know, one of the things about information, especially in today's world, is that you can go and get 90% of the information that's actually out there. It's just that most people are too damn lazy to go get it, and whoever is speaking the loudest and seemingly has the authority is what people are going to follow. Next to that, for those who don't follow it, it's kind of like the Matrix. They're going to follow all the conspiracy theories. The oldest Smiths, they act as if the Smithsonian controls every museum in the world, and they simply do not.
Well, it depends on the keyword control, right?
Right, but they don't control every
Because the
museum.
information given, right?
Yeah, but
They hide it,
what I'm
and then they put it out there in a different version for us to understand. I'm sorry, go ahead.
what I'm saying is that if you go to the museums in Cairo, they don't necessarily stipulate the same information that the Smithsonian is going to stipulate. Now they have their own bullshit that they deal with. Like they don't want Egyptian history to be other than the Arab and Egyptian history.
Exactly.
So then what you have to do is go into Sudan, and you go into the museums in Sudan and you get a different story as well. You get a story that goes against what the Egyptian museums are saying as far as the creation of Egyptian societies and so on and so forth. So basically, if you go museum hopping and you can get into where you're talking to curators, not the damn tour guide, you'll find out that there's a lot. You can find a lot of this information that people claim, oh, the Smithsonian's hiding this, they hiding that. I mean, this is why people believe that there's Egyptian shit in the Grand Canyon, because they say the Smithsonian is hiding it. If you dig a little deeper on that subject matter, you'll find out that it was an Arizona newspaper that published a bullshit story. And that's what started all that. Oh, there's Egyptian hieroglyphics in the Grand Canyon. So we have to dig to the root of things.
When they discover things, they also deny of it being there because they're the first ones who want to get in there and extract the information and then disseminate their version to the public.
Yeah, now that is something. Depending upon what it is, governments and organizations will be like, is this going to do harm, or is this like they do a cost analysis on the. So as a financial person,
Yes,
you know, we do cost analysis. See, is this, if we let this information out, how is the population going to be affected by it? And if the consensus is that it's going to negatively affect the population, then you don't tell them. If it's not going to negatively affect them, if it's more positive, then you tell them. Because people, the general public can only handle so much information.
Right.
You know, we did the threat matrix like this every goddamn week in my unit in Germany. We had to look at the threat matrix from that point of view. What to tell the people and what not to tell the people. Because people will be living in fear if they read everything that everybody puts into the threat matrix. You wouldn't walk outside your damn house.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't. Even my brother, who was in the armed services, and he was a communication specialist, you know, handling all these information back and forth. He said there's many things he can't say.
Yeah.
And you sign on that paper.
Yeah, so
That's it.
There's some disinformation out there. There's purposeful disinformation. There's non-purposeful disinformation. We just have to sift through it to figure out what's most likely real, what's most likely false. But if you have a religious bias or a national bias or a racial bias or a gender bias, you're not going to be able to do that.
Right.
Because you want everything to fit your narrative because it makes you comfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to deny the presence of these peoples and their gods, which were primarily black globally, is a crime because they want to keep you in under their version of religion.
Yeah, religion has definitely become a system of control, and so they want people to stay under it and maintain that control over them, whether they believe it or not.
Yeah, and that's when I started examining for myself, like you. And it's not that I put down any religion. It's perfectly, you know, your own will to believe what you want. But I wanted the first belief system, not religion. And that's when I started all this quest to make these videos up and try and explain it as far as I could understand it. And, you know, I get a lot of flack, but lately I've been getting a lot of welcome too, because religion was created to have control over you. That's all.
All right.
Whereas your own belief system should go back to your ancestors and what you believe, not what somebody did to conquer the world.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to anybody's belief system, even my ancestors. Them fuckers were wrong too. So I just show me evidence, then I'll go with the evidence. But the evidence never points to any god or goddesses or fucking astrotheology or the spirit of a rock or the spirit of animals. Sorry, until you can prove a spirit realm, that shit don't exist. Till you can prove a soul, it don't exist.
Right. But that's why they study the ascension. See, because in most parts of the world where they've conquered and redid these religions, you know, gave them back to the public, these systems were present, and this is what the people believe. But did it change after a while? See? Whereas people started doing things that were outside of the religion. And I believe that is basically peace, love, justice, unity, and what is the last? It's truth.
Yeah.
And when you get people to come in later and want to change things, I think that's where we all got, screwed. And now we're trying to break the chains of this religious system instead of believing what our ancestors believed.
I don't know. Now, I don't think our ancestors were living in, I don't think there's ever been a time in human history where people were just living based on love, peace, and unity. I don't think that ever happened. Man, it was based on survival. Just like everything, just like even today, everything's based really on survival. How can I eat? How can I sleep safe? How can I eat? How can I be safe? How can I be comfortable in my environment and be able to live? Now, of course, survival has changed from hunter-gatherer to farming to building cities, from industrial age to our information age we're in now. And so our survival is different than the survival was 2,000 years ago when they were agricultural. People, now you may be able to have some peace and unity when you have a small group of people living on lands and there's not many other people around. But as soon as you come in contact with a rival, another group, I would say at least 50%, I was gonna say 9 times out of 10, but 50% of the time, it probably created some bloodshed. Because the main thing was, I need to survive.
Or taking something what is not yours.
Yeah.
You know, and claiming it as your own, which is outside, to me, it's outside of Kemetic principles. You're not supposed to do that.
Well, it's outside of the Kemetic principles, but humans do it. I think humans can only do that when they live, like, let's say if you and 50 people were living on an island and the island was big enough that it provided plenty of food, shelter, and so on and so forth. Y'all probably could live in peace, sharing the island. But the moment some other motherfuckers try to show up and they 250 strong and that land doesn't provide for 300 people, there's going to be some problems now.
They want what you want,
and because there's not enough when there's not enough to provide for everybody, then humans, just like other animals, start fighting. Young lion rolls up, he wants to take over this land. Well, the old lion either got to whoop his ass or he gonna be kicked out.
Right.
And that happens through violence. So,
and to me, that's no different than animals.
Yeah, we ain't no different.
Say we're the highest civilization and all this kind of stuff. Oh, by color alone. Oh my gosh. Please give me a day on that one. But when you look at the animal kingdom, because I feed the animals and take care of them and everything, and I see so many patterns that remind me of humans. And yet they're a lower form and we're supposed to be a higher form, right?
Yeah, we're not.
Give me a break.
Yeah. But let me let some other people get up here, man.
Thank you, brother.
I appreciate you. Let's see. I never know. I just be clicking in the middle, the land, left. Oh shit! I didn't see that. Mankind. McEnroe. McConnell. MAKHNROLL. McEnroe. I guess he's not there. There's a bunch of people who clicked on Van Gogh.
How you doing there? Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good afternoon.
I completely agree with your prompt. And there's actual scientific evidence that just was published, I want to say like a month ago. And basically what the evidence is showing is that planet Earth, our planet, is roughly about 14 billion years, give or take. I think they've upped it to like 26 billion years is what our scientists are thinking, right? Global scientists. And what they found out is that our human DNA is actually about 4 billion years older than our planet.
What? Are they saying we come from the stars? You there, Van Gogh? If you're talking while you're looking something up, I can't hear you. Or if somebody called you, I can't hear anything that you're saying. But I would like you to tell me what study that is, because I haven't seen that one. Vango. Vango. Come on, Vango. My time is getting shorter. Because at 5 o'clock, I got to go work out. Oh, he dropped. Yeah, I don't know what Vango's talking. Brother Brandon.
Hey, beginning everything in the name of the Creator, bearing witness that regardless of land, label, or language, there's one Creator. I saw your show, it came across my feed, and I saw that it said that 99% of what's in the scriptures never happened. Did I catch that right?
Yeah, historically. Yep.
Yes. Okay. So so we're on board. We're on the same page. I'm a student of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, as taught by the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, and we are taught, and we know and believe that 75% of scripture is actually prophecy. That's why you have prophets loaded throughout scripture. So while I won't say that 99% of it didn't happen, I do agree that most of it is prophecy. So I just wanted to say that.
How is it prophecy?
Because we're taught supreme wisdom lessons and we see it all around us that God writes history in advance and walks into it, right? That we actually write, God, the supreme mind, writes history and we walk into it. Now you say, how is this so? What's happening today, right down in modern time, has actually been written prior to. And when you just do a simple study of the word scripture, the root word of scripture is script. So illustrating your mind, let's just use, for example, Hollywood script. It's something written in advance and then people actually walk into their roles. So when you look
Okay.
at, for example, hold on for a second, you look at, let's just take something out the scripture, the book of Ezekiel. He saw this great mechanical wheel in the sky. That wasn't real time, that was prophecy. That was something so in advance. And if you actually just pay attention to scripture, it's loaded with actual prophets. These people are called prophets. So what do prophets do? They prophesy. They detail what's happening
Okay.
down the pipe.
All right. So I know you just now finding my channel, but I don't do preachings and all that sort of thing. So I just deal with what you can prove, evidence that you have. So
Okay.
how is Noah's flood a scripture? Prophecy.
Well, Noah's flood in the scripture, a lot of that, my humble belief, a lot of that is metaphorical. We're taught in the Nation of Islam that 75% of scripture is prophecy, and then the rest is metaphor, actual laws, and stuff like that. But most of it is prophecy. As
So
far
Noah's,
hold on, you asked me a question. I believe, this is just my personal belief, I believe that the Noah story is mainly metaphorical, and it speaks to how the doom is coming, that people need to prepare for, and that a lot of people are going to ignore. And I see the markings of that right down in modern time.
All right, so Noah flood never happened.
I would say that that's mostly metaphor. Yes, I would say it never happened. It's mostly metaphor.
So then
yes.
The whole lineage of Abraham never happened.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the majority of it is prophecy. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the majority of it is prophecy, and I said the rest of it is metaphors and laws. I do.
So did Abraham
let's
exist?
Just look at. Hold on. Let's speak to. Hold on for a second. Let's speak to the. Let's speak to the. Let's speak to the Abrahamic.
Sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because
you mentioned Abraham, so I was responding to that. You mentioned
it's
Abraham.
very simple. Does Abraham exist? Yes or no?
Yes.
Abraham existed.
Yes,
what
sir.
Proof do you have? What proof do you have that Abraham existed?
I believe it's Genesis 15:13. You'll check me if I'm wrong, and somebody can check me if I'm wrong. Know of a surety that your seed will be in a strange land and work for 400 years and be abused and go to all kind of stuff. I'm paraphrasing. After which I, God, will come and I will make them, and I will put you at the top. I'm paraphrasing, but that is prophecy, and who better fits that scripture than us, the American black man in a country, in a strange land for over 400 years, going through all the hell that we've been going through. So I think that that's a perfect example.
What about the people who were enslaved in the trans-Sahara slave trade for more than 400 years?
I'm speaking to right now. I'm speaking of one thing. That
you said that. I mean, if that's prophecy, then there are other people who were enslaved for over 400 years, and they ain't the ones that's in America right now.
Well, I'm speaking to. I gave you an example. You asked me did Abraham exist, and I said yes.
But
and I said,
that doesn't prove that doesn't prove Abraham existed. When I can point to different people who went under slavery for 400 years, and the black man in America was not enslaved for 400 years.
Yes, we were. 310 years of actual servitude, and then what happened afterwards was absolutely still abject slavery. They actually just
wait.
Hold on. Question, you cut me off.
Of course, because there has to be clarity, and no, you don't just get to talk on my show. But you said 310 years of actual slavery. The black man in America was not a slave for 310 years. 310 years of slavery would mean that black people were literally enslaved until 1919. All right. My great-grandfather was not enslaved in 1919. He was living his life.
Hello, I got it.
In 1919, under Jim Crow, but he was living his life. You there? Hello, Brother Brandon. Brother Brandon. Okay. Why do people want to think that black people were enslaved in America for 400 years? We were not slaves for 400 years. 200 and what? 40 something years, 46 years? Yes. And I'm sorry. There's a difference between being oppressed under bullshit ass laws and enslavement. There's a totally two different things. Easy. All right. Easy is not there. Why these people? Why this is absurd to me. We still slaves. You know, y'all can be a slave all you want to. Because I don't know about y'all, but if America go to hell in a handbasket, I got an escape plan, passport or not. Y'all better get one. You better know how to get to a safe place south of the equator. Y'all just want to be slaves so bad just to facilitate your dang on religions. Y'all just buying into it. You got a job, so you still a slave. You could quit a job any damn time you want. Thank you for the flowers. You could quit a job anytime you want to. Can you hear me? To set, you're not on my, you have to request up. Here, let me put the link on there in Facebook and YouTube. Okay, so all those people who was in the queue, none of them are still on there. Yeah, when these people start screaming the 400 years, sub-Saharan Africans were enslaved in Northern Africa and the Middle East for more than 400 years during the trans-Saharan slave trade. Why can't they be the ones? And they were literally slaves for over 400 years. literal slaves. And the Bible writers try to compensate for Abraham's 400 years of slavery bullshit, just so that they can make their Exodus story stick. But even in the Exodus story, they were not slaves for 400 years. They were in Egypt, according to the Exodus story, for more than 400 years, but they weren't slaves. They weren't even treated harshly for 400 years when they were in Egypt. They were treated fairly, according to the story, for the first 200 years, and then 200 plus years. Then it was after that when it says that, and Pharaoh had forgotten what Joseph had done, and then they started treating them harshly. So they weren't even treated harshly, according to this Bible, for 400 years. What the hell? Y'all just gotta make this story. It's a sad thing when Black people in America gotta make this story fit into the suffering of our ancestors, when every culture around the world has been enslaved at one point. And no, things aren't fair right now. Things aren't equal right now. But damn, that doesn't make you a damn slave. Eddie. You look like you got some cool ass stories about back in the day. I do got some cool ass stories about back in the day. That no one has been enslaved like Black people. Have you ever went and researched to see how other cultures have been enslaved before you make that type of statement? Because Roman slavery was no picnic.
Can I speak?
Yeah, you back. You went blank for a while.
Yeah, I was trying to say that I got a call, and once I got the call, it kind of just cut me off. So I apologize for that. I'm actually at the airport waiting to pick some people up. So what I was trying to say, and you did address it, was 310 years of actual chattel slavery. We're also taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that it was actually
that's
15,
what I was. That's
hold on.
That's no. That's what I was.
Actually,
bruh.
But a lot of people operate.
Dude, when you call into a show, the host is going to ask for clarifications when you make certain statements. The chattel slavery in America did not last for 310 years.
Okay, I was getting ready to get into that, but you cut me off, right?
Because that number is absurd.
Okay, I'll try to give some clarity if you allow me.
Go ahead.
If this is a dialogue and we're trying to like learn from each other, then we got to listen to each other, right?
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I'm a straight shooter. I don't go for all that. Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, brother, let's keep it respect. Well, I'm giving you my reference. I didn't want to just make you think that this is just me. I'm giving you my reference. There's a slave breaking process that occurred. People didn't just wake up one day. Yes, sir, boss. Yes, sir, master. Oh, no, there was a slave breaking process from 1555 from 1619. It's commonly believed that 1619 was the start of slavery, but it doesn't speak to the actual slave breaking process that occurred. So we are taught that roughly from 1555 to roughly 1955, we were slaves. Now you may say, well, 1955, we wasn't slaves. Yes, we were, because not only did we suffer lynching, we suffered second-class citizenship, we suffered sharecropping, we suffered every indignity known to man. The Constitution was written, but it didn't apply to us. So we consider that to be still slavery. We wasn't considered citizens of this country. We were dehumanized. We were still considered chattel slaves after we were still supposed to be free. And if you know constitutional law, then you know the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution, they abolished slavery, but then you had the exception clause where they immediately started tricking people back into servitude. So slavery did not end in 1865. I hope that I was heard.
You were heard, and I understand the sentiment, but definitionally, it is incorrect as all get out. The sentiment, I understand. The oppression that continued after 1865, and that is valid. The Jim Crow laws and all that stuff, valid. It was an oppressive system, and Black people were the primary target of that oppressive system. But when we look at the definition of the word chattel slavery as it is described in the Bible, that is owning someone as property and being able to pass them down to your next generation as property. So my grandparents, who were alive during that time frame of Jim Crow laws, were not owned as property by anyone, nor were they passed down as property by anyone. Did they have to suffer through indignities? Yes. But that is a huge, and even my grandfather used to tell me that what he went through and what his grandfather went through are not comparative. You cannot compare the two because it's a totally different state of mind, even though it's still bullshit.
Brother, what's your name, brother? I'm sorry, I never even got your name. We just debating and I never even got your name. What's your name,
Renz.
brother?
I just go by Renz.
Okay, brother. Okay, brother Renz. Did I get that right? Because names are important. Brother Renz. Okay, brother Renz. Speaking of names, not only do we continue right down to the modern time to where the actual names of our slave masters, which is a whole nother symbolism of ownership, but in 1865, when slavery was supposed to be abolished by the United States Constitution, the exception clause said that slavery was abolished except upon the conviction. Oh, the exception clause. So you know about it. So now, what did they immediately do? Vagrancy laws put you right back into slavery. You had nowhere to go because you was on the plantation and they didn't give you anything. So now they just released you and then they put you back into servitude under the vagrancy laws. Then you had the black codes where they was actually manufacturing crimes to put people back into servitude. And they did it to us and they continued to do it to us until we started adopting that criminal mindset and falling into the trap. So slavery, I'm just telling you, brother. And
I agree with the oppression of that, but you cannot say on wholesale that the overwhelming majority of Black people post-slavery were put back into a institutional slavery through those types of laws. Because my grandfather Jack Reed never experienced that. He didn't violate any crimes. He always had a job. And so he never got accused of vagrancy. He never had to forcibly work for anybody. The only problem that he had was his filings under the Freedmen Bureau when the motherfucker who he's supposed to sharecropping with was trying to steal his money and not pay him. And then he got paid. The Freedmen Bureau forced the dude to pay him. He got his money and he left and he came to Georgia so that he can start his new life. A slave cannot do that. But he
systems. We're dealing with it. We're dealing with a tricky devil that will give you just enough to make you believe that you have rights. And in reality, to this day, right down to the modern time, we don't really have any rights that they're bound to respect. There's the appearance, but they do everything. They'll give you something and they do something to undermine it. And all I'm saying is that sharecropping is a form of slavery. When you can't get a fair shake in the society of your birth, that's a form of slavery and second-class citizenship. And I'm saying that when
it's not chattel slavery.
We could nuance and play with words. The fact is that the Constitution itself says slavery is abolished except upon conviction of a crime, and they actually put together this big prison industrial complex to put people back into servitude. So slavery wasn't abolished, and when you are subjugated strictly based on your skin color, that's a form of slavery. I get that you may want to nuance the words because you don't want it to fit into the scriptural.
It's not a nuance.
Context.
It's what the words say. It's what the scriptural. It's what the words in your Bible says of what chattel slavery is.
And I'm looking at both the Constitution of this country and I'm looking at the treatment. And when you are living, and it's not in slavery, and slavery is not just just physical. Slavery is not just physical. People to this day are still mental slaves. You could be a slave to a mental death and power. You could be a slave to if you're still running around in 2020 and 2026 with the slave master's name, something's wrong with you. If you in 2026 are still practicing the religion of your slave masters, you're still a slave.
Hey, you're practicing the religion of the slave master as well.
Absolutely not. And if you knew the Nation of Islam teachers, you would know. You would know. Look up the Nation of Islam teachers, and just because you see Islam,
why are you yelling? Why are you yelling? Why are you yelling?
I'm just a little excited. I'm sorry, brother.
Because I mean, when Farad brought his so-called message to y'all start following Islam, which is a religion that does incorporate slavery and enslave Southern Africans, Sub-Saharan Africans like a champ. Islam is not a religion of black people. It's a religion of Arab people.
Do you know? No, it's not, brother. So you don't know what you're talking about. And
yeah, I know the history of Islam and how it started. And then I know about I know about W.D. Farad and coming down and teaching Elijah Muhammad.
You do not, brother. I respectfully, you do not, because
I do know how the history of it.
Let me take the time to impart something on you. There is the religion of Islam called Al-Islam. They don't even see me. Most of them don't even see me as a Muslim because I don't have the Aqidah that they have. I don't follow the laws and the mores and the mores. They don't even look at us as Muslim. That's first and foremost. Second of all, Islam from a spiritual definition means simply submission to your creator. That's it. The religion, and I'm just getting a little passionate. That's it. I'm not offending you. I'm not trying to offend you. The religion of Islam is 1,500 years old. The religion of Islam. But Islam, we humbly believe and know, is your nature. Everything was created by the Creator to submit to the Creator. That's what we're engaged in. We're not out Islamic people. We don't follow the religion of Islam, brother. So if you knew that, you shouldn't say that because it's misleading. Don't see the word Islam and then automatically think that everything is under the umbrella of one religion.
Do you follow the Quran? Do you follow the Quran?
Yes, sir. I follow. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Then just because there are, just like in Christianity, denominations of Islam, you're still following the same book. You just have a different perspective on that book. And
but it's much different. It's much different.
That religion, that book, was that religion or that book developed in Black Africa or in Arab Africa?
First and foremost, if you knew anything about geography, you would know that Africa, we have a degree in Supreme Wisdom lesson that says, why does the devil call our people African? Because he wants us to think that's the only people we have there. First of all, Arabia is right next to ancient Kemet or Egypt. It's right there.
Was it started south of the Sahara, or was it started north of the Sahara?
You're not gonna let me.
Because you can't answer a question simply. You got to go through all this bullshit to get to a simple answer.
Because things have to be explained. Because you know what the problem is with a lot of us? We have the scholarship of these people on our mind, and we look at the world from their view.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go with that bullshit right there.
Do you know?
That's the bullshit answer, bro. What do you know about me? What do you know about me?
I know.
What do you know about my studies?
Based on what you're saying out your mouth, I know from you. Once you open your mouth, you remove all doubt.
Once I open my mouth, I should remove the doubt.
You remove all doubt because you're sitting. You're observing. You've
been to Mecca?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't been to Mecca. I have no reason to go to Mecca. I have no desire to go to Mecca.
You ain't been over there at all.
I'm not going to kiss no stone and none of that. No.
Well, good. That's good.
Because I understand the symbolisms of things, and I get to the root of things. Now, what I want to say to you, and then I'm gonna shut up and let you speak. Ancient Arabia of antiquity is right next to Kemet. That is the original landmass of the original man. This new pale Arab that has clouded your mind to believe he's the original inhabitant, he is not the original inhabitant of the Arabian Peninsula. The original inhabitant of the Arabian Peninsula is the cold black man. So don't get caught up just in the continent of Africa, because we lived all over the planet. We lived all over the planet. We're not just confined to Africa. Blackness is not confined just to sub-Saharan Africa. That is That is Caucasian scholarship, brother.
In
Trust me on
500,
that.
in 500, 600 CE, them motherfuckers were just brown. The Arab nation, they were brown. They was not coal black in the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. Now, I agree with you. Originally, before that time frame, you get coal black. But during the 500s CE, they were not coal black. They were a huge mixed up race of people, and they were just brown. Similar, more closely to like the Eurythians, brown during that time frame. So when I say, and those people had a very distinctive, different culture than the people in Southern Africa. They were not connected at all. The religion didn't come from none of those people who were still coal black. They had been a mixture. They not mixed their culture with Europeans, with people throughout the Levant, people in the Mesopotamia, and northern Egyptians. They not mixed with all those people. So they cannot be identified with what I'm calling sub-Saharan Africans, which is where my ancestors come from. My ancestors don't come from none of them jokers over there. So I have no reason to think that they are teaching some religion that I should be following based on my heredity.
Long before there was, go ahead.
So therefore, my understanding is not Eurocentric as you may think. My understanding is world-centric because I look at all the information from all over the world. I look at the winners, I look at the losers, I look at all the information, and then filter through all of that to come to a conclusion.
Long before there was the history I'm tapping into, brother, and that's why I said there were certain things I said. I used the word antiquity. You start playing with the word antiquity, I'm talking about long before there was a Caucasian on the planet. So there was no mixture. I'm not dealing with the mixtures come about because people were mixing with the Caucasians, and then you had these different mixtures. I'm talking about the original black man before there was a Caucasian.
There was no Islam
if you really think about it, I'm not dealing with Islam. Islam is a religion only 1,500 years ago. That's why there's a separation. Islam as a religion is new stuff. 1,500 years ago. That as a religion, it was fixed.
So how if the Quran is only 1,500, you kind of broke up a little, you was breaking up and everything, so I don't even know if you can still hear me. I don't know what airport you're at, but you got some issues going on right now. I'm gonna let you linger to see if it ever corrects itself. But Islam has not been around for 1,500 years. You cannot reach back into further antiquity to try to claim the beginnings of Islam or some type of belief, because before that, those people were polytheistic, believing in a whole bunch of other gods, especially those in and around Yemen, Oman, that modern day area. They believed in gods of the mountains and the waters and all that other kind of stuff. And actually, there's sects of them that believed in a Yahwist God. So, and this is just what archaeology shows. I don't give a damn about what a religious book says. He still want to be a slave, though. Oh, shit. I invited somebody. I thought that was the people waiting. Sorry. Viewers, let me take away that. Let me take that off.
The phone cut me off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, your phone went crazy. Thanks, Negative, for the
every time if I get a call, I'm at JFK waiting on somebody, so they're calling me back and forth. So if I get a call, they'll cut me off. I'm not trying to cut off your wisdom, and I'm definitely not running from a great discourse. What I was gonna say in closing, brother, is that when Islam as a religion is only 1,500 years ago, I'm dealing with a natural phenomenon. When I use the word Islam, when your brother Brandon Tassedi Muhammad talks about Islam, I'm talking about an Arabic word that is used for nature itself, and all it means in an organic, original form is submission to Creator. And if left to our own devices without any interference, we as original people would strive to submit to our creator. So I'm not a religious person, I'm a spiritual person.
And who is
I don't
that
know if you caught
creator?
that last part. I'm not a religious, the
How do
creator
you
of the heavens and the earth. The first self-created human being. The first self-created. We believe when we're taught that the first human being was self-created. And then he
And
started replicating himself and started building. And it's a human being. It's not a
when
spook. It's not a ghost. It's a
okay,
human
it's a
being. Go ahead, I'm
human.
sorry, brother.
When did that and
Yes.
how did you identify that human being? Like, who is that human? When did it happen? What book? Where do you derive that? I ain't never heard that one.
Well, we're yeah, well, that's why I say you got to study the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's why I'm quoting, he's my reference. And what he's been able to do with the human condition, excuse me, what he's been able to do with the human condition bears witness to his teachings. What Mr. Farrakhan has been able to do with the human condition bears witness to his teachings. Now, as far as God is a human being, he's not a spook. God manifests himself
Okay,
through the human condition.
You preaching. I asked
I'm
the
sorry
question.
about preaching, brother, but I have to tell you, if you have a problem with preaching, then you shouldn't have. If you have a problem with preaching, then you shouldn't have a discussion that touches on spirituality. Spirituality will inspire. Hold on, brother. Let me talk. Spirituality will inspire.
I asked a very simple question.
Take charge. I know. I said God manifests. The Holy Quran Al Sharif says, I'm gonna give you a receipt. The Holy Quran Al Sharif says, I Allah am closer to you than your light vein. I Allah am closer to you than your jugular vein. So God manifests and expresses himself through human beings. God is a human being. That's my answer.
So just theological jargon is your answer.
Okay,
so that's all that
that's
is.
what you want to call it.
That's all that is, because the same way that we are physically. You cannot out-talk me. I only allow you to talk when I want to allow you to talk. Like, no one can hear you right now. You're talking, but no one can hear you. See how he's still talking? He's still talking like somebody can hear him. Can't nobody hear you. And he's just talking and nobody can hear you. No one can hear you. Because, yeah, I can disallow preaching all I want to on my channel. Because what I'm talking about is facts, evidence. And to make a claim that through how somebody lives their life is the proof of your God, whatever you was able to accomplish in your life is the proof of your God, that goes over to every religion that anybody has ever come up with. I can look at Buddhism and make the same claim that you're making about Islam, how Siddhartha was able to live his life and achieve the things that he achieved, and the coming to consciousness under the Bodhi tree and seeing his life, 10,000 lives in the past, he achieved nirvana. That's theological jargon. That's all that is.
That's why, brother, we say spirituality. I'm not caught up in religion. That's why I said, regardless of land, label, or language, there's one creator. I'm dealing with spirituality. I'm not lifting my religion above anybody because I'm not religious.
Spirituality. You can't prove a spirit. You can't prove a dimensional beings or you going and becoming a dimensional being. None of those things are proven. The only thing you can prove is that you become a better person. You can show that. You can show that you became a better person. You stripped away all the different bullshits that human concepts we've come up with that separates us and divides us and creates animosity amongst us. You can become a better human. It doesn't mean you become some ascended spiritual being. You're just a better thinking person.
And then another way to look at it is that when you become that higher self, then you become the proof of what was done prior to you.
But yet we can't prove none of that because those are just stories. We can't prove that anyone ascended to anything. We can't prove a Buddha saw 10,000 of his lives. That's not provable. You can't prove it. That's just a story. You either believe it or you don't.
A lot of times when you hear spiritual talk, right? Because I try to avoid that word religion, because religion is like a man-made power play. But a lot of times when you hear spiritual talk, right, there's layers and layers of information to be learned. It's surface, there's the surface dwelling knowledge, and then there's when you dig deep, you get more and more wisdom. And a lot of stuff is metaphorical and allegorical and designed to keep things away from people until they're ready for it. So we should all be students. We should all remain to be students. That's all I'm saying. You know, don't rule anything out. Be students.
I will agree with that. We all should be students, but I do rule out a lot of the bullshit that is unnecessary. But I appreciate you, man. I got like 15 minutes. I'm gonna let this last guy get
up. Yes, sir. I know you got to work out. All right, brother. Good show, great show, and thanks for having me.
You're right about that.
No, real talk. I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna subscribe, and I'll be up here. We'll talk and build. You know, get that workout in. That's very important as well, brother. Be safe.
Right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Yes, sir.
You know, I learned a long time ago I can grow in what people call spirituality without believing in some book or deity. Unmute your mic, Dark Light.
What up, man? How's it blowing, Captain?
How you doing?
Pretty good, man. I figured I'd come on here at the very end here, give you a reasonable theist to talk to for a minute.
What you got?
Now, in all fairness, the guy that was on about 4 callers ago that you went a long time with, he was actually being reasonable. He was trying to have, you know, like an intellectual conversation with you.
Yep. That's why I let him talk for so long.
Yeah, and I was commenting on that. So you know, I've been rolling with you for a couple years. There was a couple people in the comments that was like, well, what the fuck do you think as a theist? And that's why I was kind of waiting towards the end of the show, because I'm not Abraham. I'm a non-Abrahamic true monotheist. Followers of Abraham are a blood cult of sin worshippers. Yahweh, Jesus, and Allah are desert war gods of hypocrisy, not the actual one true creator. And I do believe in a construct of the one true creator, but it is one that I have created for myself. It is not based off of any scriptures.
Okay. How did you base that creator?
So followers of Abraham would have you believe that divine revelation only comes from their special holy books, but that actually makes those books an idol. The Torah, the Bible, and the Quran are actually idols. They are not, because they like to claim that the only divine words are the words within those holy books. So I say that every single name and every single word ever spoken is the name and word of the actual one true creator. For there is no name or word possible to be spoken without the breath of life which empowers it. So the divine revelation, it is very similar to omniism.
Okay.
It's not exact, but I went around looking just to see if there's anything out there that was closely aligned, and that's probably one of the closest alignments to what I have created.
Okay, so I think I got it. So it's kind of like omniism, except you negate any type of war deity, blood cult-ish god, right? Would that be a correct assessment?
Well, I mean, that would be a rough assessment.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I was raised as pagan. My mom, it wasn't like strict pagan. My mom encouraged us to study everything. She was raised as Jehovah's Witness, and she got kicked out and just started studying whatever the fuck she wanted. And so that's how I was raised. And so I just claimed spiritual for a long time until I realized that's really a very vague and undescript label. And so I searched within myself, and I found that I do believe in a proposal, a construct of the one true creator, but I don't come to it through the scriptures of Abraham. So
what is that construct?
I call it a naturalistic omni-relational monism, basically.
So kind of like the Plamora in Gnosticism.
I have parallels but divergences, because I'm writing a book right now. It's a 3-volume book, and within the first volume, I actually compare my theology to every single theology. Well, most of them, not every single one, because there's a bunch of them. But I compare my theology to about 30 different other theologies, saying what's similar and what's different. Then I compare my theology to about 25 different philosophies, because a lot of people like to call me panpsychist or idealist, and I'm similar to those, but I'm also very divergent. I would not identify myself as that, but I get called that all the time.
Okay. I'm still trying to nail it down a bit. So do you worship this God?
Well, so it is not something that is separate from you. It is not an external thing. It's an internal thing. We are all a fractal extension of the one true creator. There is no name or word separate from it. So every single name and every single word is an intricate, intrinsic part of it. So we are all a fractal extension of the one true creator, as I like to say, which is a roundabout way of saying we are all God. But I'm not saying we are all God with an S. We are all God. We are all the same being living in an infinite different amount of expressions.
Okay. So how do you demonstrate the existence of this God that we are all fractals of?
So I'm writing a book and I have about 200 falsifiable predictions so far, and I'm not even done yet, but I do have falsifiable predictions writing my book. But to directly answer your question, what is the best way to demonstrate that? Go look in a mirror and go look in a mirror, man. You're it, dude. Every single one. We are all it. And it's just an offering. I'm not demanding. That's another big difference between me and followers of Abraham. I'm not commanding or demanding. I'm just offering an alternative view.
No, I understand what the view that you're talking about. It's something that I came upon about 7-8 years ago of this thought process. And on the surface, it sounds great. You know, we're all just, it's kind of like when people say that we are all God having a human experience. Right?
I'd agree with you.
Not saying that we are God, we're just having a human experience. And it started lacking when the mindset was because God wanted to have a human experience.
Well, I would disagree with when you said, but we're not God. I would say we are actually God.
No. What I'm saying is people say that we are all fractal parts of God having a human experience because this God wanted to have a human experience. So it pieced itself into these different fractional pieces so that it can have all these human experiences. But if you are, here's my problem with it. When you are considering when you consider the God, this creator God, it has to already, it can't want for anything. It can't lack anything. So the human experience would be a lack that this God has. So then therefore it wouldn't make it God at all.
Well, that depends on how you define God, and that depends on how you define the experience, the human experience itself. You could define it as a lack. I wouldn't. I would call it as an indulgence within experience itself. But see, I don't claim that my perception of the one true creator is all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving. The only one I claim for it is omnipresent. It exists everywhere at every time. That's the only one of the omni traits that I claim for my perception of the one true creator.
Okay, so what you're saying is that so it's not all-knowing, not all-powerful.
Not all loving. As soon as you say your God is all loving, at that very moment you create the problem of evil. I don't believe in evil. I don't believe in sin.
Okay, so why does there have to be a God?
Well, see, I'm reclaiming that word from the abuse that has been inflicted upon it by the broken theology of Abraham. God is actually my least favorite word for it. My favorite term for it is the fractal singularity omnimatrix.
Why does that have to exist?
What?
For what reason would that being have to exist?
To experience every possibility and probability. That is the point. To experience every single possible thing that can, will, and might happen.
So then but if it is so it created all the universe, and then its energy fractured into everything in the universe to experience the universe.
I would call it the one within the all.
Okay,
but
so that's a little hermetic. That's hermetic speaking.
Yeah.
And which the only issue I had with one of the issues I have with hermeticism is the fact that the all creates simply to, and I do like the idea it creates simply to create, but when it expands into for it to have an experience, it does bring about a need, a want, as if something is missing. So why would a being of infinite presence in your situation, if it's infinitely present at all times, It just does. You know what? It just doesn't make sense that there has to be this being. Why can't it just be that nature just is without consciousness?
Well, I would say that it doesn't have to be, but it can be, because I'm not forcing this perception upon anyone. And I would like to clarify really quick the term creation, because I use that as a colloquialism, because nothing is truly created or destroyed. Things are only transformed from the law of conservation of energy. So I would like to clarify, and anytime you hear me use the word creation, I'm using that colloquially while acknowledging that there is no such thing as creation. There's only transformation and recycling.
Right. So then, you're what you're calling a being of consciousness, an omniscient being of consciousness. It came into that being, into that consciousness. It wasn't always conscious.
I would never call it omniscient, because omniscient is all knowing. I don't believe in the all knowing part.
But if it's all present, if it's present at all times, then it could have never not been conscious, right?
Consciousness is the number 2 trait on the Dark Light Decalogue, secondary only to the primary trait of unity. And that's what actually separates me from a lot of the panpsychists and idealists. They say that the most fundamental trait for them is consciousness, but I go beyond that. I say the most fundamental trait is actually unity, and then from that flows the consciousness.
But is there a beginning of this consciousness?
I would not. Just like there's no true creation, there's I believe it always was. I don't believe there was an actual hard beginning. I would say that it always was and always is. It is an eternal, dynamic, unified consciousness.
And so you're saying that consciousness keep on having experiences, and it always has been, because energy has always been just cycling itself through different states of being.
Just constantly changing novel forms of reiterations.
Yeah. See, that's something that I just can't believe that, because we cannot prove that. We can see that in nature. We can see that in astrophysics, but it doesn't demonstrate a consciousness doing any of it or being a part of it.
I absolutely accept that. Even if the majority of my predictions turn out to be proven, that still doesn't prove the basic ontology that I'm positing, that I'm offering. So I fully acknowledge that. Yeah.
Okay.
And just one time for the atheists that I know you guys need to hear a theist say this, okay? I believe in imaginary friends, and I will invent any mental gymnastics necessary to validify my imaginary friends. So I know y'all atheists need to hear that. I'm one of the most honest theists y'all are going to run into.
Damn. I was about to retro hell that one, but you made it go too far. Too far.
I got you with that shit on.
No, I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
That you have imaginary friends. That part. It was a imaginary friends part.
Well,
right,
and also, hey, thanks for having me on, homie. I just wanted to come on and give a shout out right quick. I do got your email, and I've been sending you stuff for my book. I don't know if you've been getting it or anything, but I have been sending you stuff for my book. I'll
check my spam.
All right, yeah, it might be
going there.
All right, thanks, bro. I appreciate you, homie. Stay beautiful, motherfuckers.
All right. It's very so if you study Hermeticism, you'll get some of the things that he was talking about. I know it didn't have much to do with our subject matter, so let's just entertain some of that. Let's see, I got about 8 minutes, then I got to get off here. If these last 2 people aren't on here, then I'm done. Yep, I guess I will be done. But that was an interesting bookend to the conversation. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Where you been? Where you been, Cushion? That humans are meant to experience. I do think that humans are meant to experience. I just don't think that there's some type of God involvement in that experience. You experience life, and when it's over, your experience is over. And even if your consciousness retained itself and came back as something else, you don't have any memory of it. Just like you don't have any memory of anything that happened prior to your birth right now, right? But I would say Dark Light, yeah, I find him interesting because he's in a stage of my pathway that I went through at a certain time frame. Like I said, 7-8 years ago, when I was deep into the Tao and Hermeticism, if we was having that conversation 7-8 years ago, I probably would have been in hella agreement with what he was saying. Because that's where my studies were leading me back then. But we continue to study and we continue to learn. We continue to have experiences. And just like anything, you should graduate from each level, right? I do agree with Brandon in the perspective that you should grow to be a better person. I don't put it on a spiritual level. 7 years ago, I would have put that on a spirituality thing, but I cannot prove a spirit. We can't demonstrate a spirit. What we can demonstrate is a consciousness. We know we have it, and that's the only demonstration that we have of it, is that we live it right now, right? We can't measure it, but we can see it. We can see the differences of different consciousness, but we don't know where it comes from. We don't know where it goes. It just is what it is. So I'm going to try to do one more before I have to get off here. Nope, that person didn't. So, and the thing about consciousness, and that's a good question. Have we always had it? Only since we were born. When we came out of our mother's womb is the only time frame that we can say we have had a consciousness. It began there. Well, not even before then, when you was in your mother's womb. When did you develop it? When sperm hit egg? We don't know. But at some point in the gestation period, you start recognizing different things. Just like babies recognize in the womb, they start to recognize things. But we don't know where it comes from. We don't know where it's going. Diamond. I promise this is my last caller. Nobody else after this, because I got to go to the gym. Diamond. Diamond in the back. Sun rooftop. I guess Diamond is not there. So what I do agree with is everybody has the right to believe whatever they want to believe. So let me finish the thing by saying that everybody should be able to believe what they want to believe, and no one should be able to force anyone to believe something different. If you come to the conclusion by conversation, then great. By study, by great. By experience, But no one has the right to push their belief onto anyone and to claim definitively that they are right unless you can back it up by evidence. And until you can back up that some God exists by evidence, not by experience. Oh, I experienced because I was saved in a car wreck. Everybody got that one, right? So because, good point there, because we have memory, because we have self-awareness mainly, because we have self-awareness, what man has always done is take his own self-awareness and put that on some other object. First, it was objects that you can see, rocks, birds, animals, astrology. And then we started putting that awareness on imaginary friends. And now people are believing in all these imaginary friends because of their own self-awareness, because every God seems to be just like the people that creates or worship this God or manipulates this God into its modern day thought process. I want you to think about something. It's a hard concept to think of. Try to take yourself out of your conscious awareness right now and put yourself into a time frame 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago. It's a very difficult thing to do because you want to interject who you are right now with all your memories, with all your self-awareness, with everything that you've experienced. It's just like when black people say, man, if I was a slave back in them slave days, I would have killed master. You don't fucking know what you would have done because you wouldn't have been the person that you are right now. You'd have been a totally different person if you was born in 1865, black man in the antebellum South, or hell, even in the North. you would have had a different conscious state of being, a different self-awareness. But if you try to put yourself into that state where you strip away everything that you know and have now, it's very difficult. But you wouldn't be you. You wouldn't be you. You'd be somebody else. You'd be a totally different, you have a totally different conscious state, a totally different awareness of being. The only thing, the only common awareness of being that you will have is that you're alive. Other than that, your surroundings would create a different awareness. And we can't remember, we don't have any awareness before we were born, and we don't have any awareness of the future, and we have no awareness of what comes after. So your awareness is shaped by your current environment. It's shaped by the environment that you grew out of. So from birth or from gestation of awareness all the way up to now has shaped who you are, right? Nothing else. Nothing else. Ancient people, they fucking don't really matter as far as who you are, unless you study some stuff from ancient people and then you adopt it. But that's still you creating a new environment, a new awareness for yourself in the now. So believe whatever you want to believe. Only thing I always say is try to be a better person, right? Try to be a better person. There are some common things that we have to survive as a society. And just try to be a better version of that. And where we see that things are messed up, I understand what my man was saying about what my grandfather went through. I can't imagine living through my grandfather's time. Living through the 1930s, 40s, 50s. I can't imagine living through those times. But I can see what we're dealing with today and try to make it better. And if you want meaning in your life, try to make this world just a little bit better. Just a little bit better. Whether you do it on a micro level or on a macro level, try to do it a little bit better. That's why I always end my videos, most of 99% of the time, I end my videos and I end my lives with the same damn saying. But before I go, no one came up and showed that any of these things ever happened. Not one of these things ever happened. And I want to thank everybody who supports the channel through sharing, subscribing, being members, giving gifts, all those things, right? So always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And I will see you guys tomorrow, 2 to 2:30 Central Standard Time. And I'm out.